Chapter 210. When faced with the countless solid sword images that possessed extremely penetrative force that were flying towards him, Chu Hen's face didn't reveal the slightest trace of panic. He put away the Devil Destroyer's spear in his hand, and his hands condensed together. Along with an extremely violent fluctuation of energy, two different colored talisman markings suddenly appeared in his hands. What's that? Blazing talisman and frost talisman? How could this be possible? This fellow even executed the lightning talisman earlier. Is he trying to defy the heavens? Everyone present stared with their eyes wide open as they gazed at the two talisman markings that Chu Hen condensed, and their faces were filled with disbelief. Everyone who had been to St. Bell City was shocked speechless. At that time, even geniuses like Shen Yunxi, Wei Qinfan, and Bai Yuyue had only obtained one talisman marking each. However, Chu Hen had obtained 3 talisman markings by himself, and this was too surprising. However, everyone still didn't understand why Chu Hen had simultaneously released the energy of 2 types of talisman markings. Could it be that he didn't know that the energy released by talisman markings of different attributes would repel each other? Everyone present didn't have any extra time to ponder. At this critical moment, in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, an exquisite and nimble small-scale glyph suddenly appeared in front of Chu Hen's body. In an instant, Chu Hen didn't say a word and directly released 2 types of formidable energy. Boom! The blazing flame that soared into the sky and the ghastly ice profound energy were like 2 extremely furious torrents, and they gave rise to a terrifying and irresistible might as they whistled forward. Rumble! Heavy explosions sounded out in succession between the two of them. The red and white energies were like violent dragons that had emerged from the sea, and they swept through the numerous sword images that were flying towards Chen Shi with their might. Oh my God! This fellow! Everyone present was shocked to the point their jaws almost dropped to the ground. A pillar of fire and a pillar of ice swept up a violent might that was a mixture of cold and heat as they assaulted Shen Yunxi, whose face was covered in shock. Boom! The astonishing power poured down, and the scorching and icy light crushed down on him. Under the extremely shocked gazes of the surrounding hundreds of people, 2 towering airwaves rose in front of Shen Yunxi. Bang! A loud bang sounded. His opponent seemed to have been hit by a torrent. His body trembled violently and flew out. A large mouthful of blood gushed out from his mouth. Brother! Senior Brother Yunxi! Spirit Rhino Martial House's Shin Xinwen, Shang Zhe, and the others all turned pale with fright. At the same time that Shen Yunxi was sent flying, the raging shockwave continued to sweep downwards, and a thick layer of countless stone bricks on the ground was shaved off. As if it had been hit by a strong current, a ravine that was 7 to 8 meters wide and dozens of meters long suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Even many of the onlookers behind Shen Yunxi were knocked to the ground by the powerful shockwave. Bang! Shen Yunxi fell heavily on the ground, and was dragged on the ground for more than 10 meters before he was able to stop. His body continuously emitted a cold air, and many parts of his clothes were burnt. His hair was gray and his face was black, and he was in an extremely sorry state. He did not have the slightest bit of his previous elegant demeanor. Fresh blood continuously flowed from his mouth, and his aura was extremely weak. It was difficult for him to get up again. Hiss! The appearance of this scene caused everyone present to involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. The entire street fell into a deathly silence. Shen Yunxi had been defeated. He had been defeated by Chu Hen, who was only at the 9th level of the element opening stage. This was simply something that no one could have imagined even in their dreams. Not long ago, everyone was still discussing how unsightly Chu Hen would be defeated by Shen Yunxi in the first match the next day. But the scene in front of them was truly a slap to the faces of countless people. Ta-ta! The steady footsteps caused everyone's hearts to tremble. They saw Chu Hen's expression was indifferent as he walked step by step towards Shen Yunxi. The invisible pressure caused everyone's heartstrings to tighten involuntarily. He, Plum Blossom Sword Shin Yunshi, is only SOSO. Chu Hen did not conceal the mockery and disdain in his tone. Shen Yunshi's sorry state was filled with panic as he struggled on the ground and continuously retreated. So you're afraid now? Chu Hen's eyes were filled with disdain as he smiled indifferently. When it comes to courage, you're not even a tenth of Long Qingyang's. Chu Hen, stop. At this moment, the people from the consonant's martial house hurriedly rushed out of the restaurant. Shen Xinwen hurriedly stood in front of Shen Yunshi. Don't kill him, don't kill him! Shen Xinwen looked extremely helpless at this moment, her face streaked with tears. As far as she could remember, Shen Yunshi had never been in such a sorry state, nor had he suffered such a setback. Xinwen, get out of the way. Even if I die, I don't need your protection, Shen Yunshi said in a low voice. Haha, you still have a bit of ambition. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth raised into a ridiculing arc. Following that, his gaze turned cold, and he swept his gaze towards the few people from the Lingxi martial house who were yes-men and did not dare to speak. The moment they met Chu Hen's gaze, they all shrank back in fright, especially Shang Zhe. He could clearly feel that the coldness in the other party's eyes was directed at him. Without another word, Shang Zhe hurriedly handed over a heavy halberd covered in green scales. Qing, I'll return the green scales heavy halberd to you. Chu Hen's handsome eyebrows raised slightly, and said with a smile full of interest. It seems that when you obtained this heavy halberd today, weren't you rather proud? Now you're pretending to be a grandson? Shang Zhe's face flushed red from being ridiculed. He really wanted to find a hole to hide in. Chu Hen casually received the green scales heavy halberd and his indifferent gaze returned to Shen Yunshi. The surrounding crowd's hearts were in their throats. Was the other party really going to kill him? At this moment, Yu Qinyu suddenly walked to Chu Hen's side. Casually pulling his arm, she said, All right, senior brother Qin Yang's anger has been vented. It's time for you to cool down. Let's go. This scene caused the surrounding crowd to be surprised once again. Since when did Yu Qinyu and Chu Hen become so close? Yu Qinyu did not want Chu Hen to stir up trouble. If it was in the Earth ranking tournament, no one would say anything if Chu Hen killed Shen Yunshi, but it was different outside. Once Shen Yunshi died, the consonant's martial house would definitely pursue Chu Hen's responsibility. At that time, it would only cause trouble. Feeling the gentleness in Yu Qinyu's tone, Chu Hen's expression gradually calmed down. The coldness emitted from his body also retracted. What should we do tomorrow? You know, I don't want to see you in the competition area. Chu Hen looked at Shen Yunshi and coldly said. Then, he left with Yu Qinyu. The surrounding crowd quickly opened a path. Everyone's gaze towards Chu Hen underwent a great change. Looking at the backs of the two, Shen Yunshi's lips faintly moved twice. In the end, he did not say anything. His hands clenched into fists, his knuckles cracking. All the consonant's martial house students stood to the side in silence. At this moment, Shen Xinwen's heart was particularly complex. Her omnipotent elder brother image had been severely destroyed. She could not help but feel some regret. Regret that she had provoked Chu Hen again and again, but then again, who would have thought that the youth who had been continuously rejected by all the higher academies in the capital would actually grow to such a degree in less than a year? For the countless people in the capital, tonight would be another sleepless night. The bustling streets were brightly lit with people coming and going, looking resplendent and prosperous. You still don't want to let go? Chu Hen said to Yu Qinyu who was beside him. Yu Qinyu's face blushed red. She pulled back her arm that was holding onto his arm. I forgot. Chu Hen let out a deep breath. We've arrived at Tensei Prefecture. I'll go back first. We've arrived? So fast? Yu Qinyu's beautiful eyes looked all around. Only then did she discover that around 100 meters in front of her was the entrance to Tensei Prefecture. Seeing the other's silly appearance, Chu Hen couldn't help but find it a bit funny. What have you been thinking about on the way here? Nothing? Yu Qinyu's eyebrows arched. Her intelligent eyes turned, avoiding Chu Hen's gaze. You still have a match tomorrow. Go back early and rest. Oh, I forgot. You don't have a match tomorrow. You've already won. I really can't stand you. Go back. You're not going to see me off? Yu Qinyu suddenly said. See you off? This time, it was Chu Hen's turn to be startled. He received Yu Qinyu's slightly expectant gaze. He hesitated for a moment and shook his head. Next time? I'm a bit tired. Yu Qinyu nodded slightly in disappointment. Then, goodbye. After watching Yu Qinyu leave, Chu Hen's body suddenly trembled. His face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of dark red extravasated blood. It's still a bit of a stretch to fight someone 3 levels higher than me, Chu Hen muttered to himself softly. His opponent was Shen Yunxi, one of the favorites to win the championship. It was impossible for Chu Hen to say that he was not injured at all. If he did not rely on the power of the chaotic body and the sacred demonic pupil body, it was almost impossible for him to defeat Shen Yunxi. After all, the gap between the elemental opening realm and the core transformation realm was still fundamentally different. Phew! After spitting out a mouthful of extravasated blood, Chu Hen's internal breath became slightly smoother. However, all the major meridians in his body were swollen and painful, and his limbs felt rather weak. This was also the main reason why he refused to send Yu Qinyu back. There are still a few rounds of the Earth List tournament. I need to heal my injuries as soon as possible. Immediately, Chu Hen walked towards the gate of Tensei Prefecture. However, as soon as Chu Hen entered the gate of the academy, he met someone. Chapter 211. At night, Chu Hen returned to Tensei Prefecture. However, as soon as he entered the gate of the academy, he saw a person standing in the hazy night. Tutor! Chu Hen raised his eyebrows, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. The person in front of him was Shilan. She was tall and slender, and her long purple hair matched with her beautiful face. She was like an elf in the night, beautiful and moving. Tutor, are you going out? Chu Hen asked casually. Shilan shook her head slightly and replied faintly, How is your brother? He's out of danger. Thank you for your concern, Tutor. You're injured. Shilan frowned slightly. Chu Hen smiled awkwardly. It's nothing serious. It's just a small injury. If there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Chu Hen faintly felt that his qi and blood were starting to become blocked again. If he didn't go back to regulate his breathing, the consequences would be more serious. Shilan nodded. Go! Okay. Immediately, Chu Hen took his leave, turned around, and disappeared into the night. Shilan gazed in the direction that the other party had left in, and a faint ripple appeared in her eyes. She sighed softly and shook her head helplessly. A moment later, Chu Hen returned to his residence. Chu Hen, you're back? Lei Zhen, who heard movement outside the door, hurriedly came out of the room. Where's Mu Feng? He's not back yet? Chu Hen asked casually. This? Lei Zhen answered with a strange expression. He sneaked back in the afternoon, and then went out again when he saw the messy courtyard. Only then did Chu Hen remember that he had almost destroyed the entire courtyard yesterday because he was cultivating the runes. However, to Chu Hen's surprise, the courtyard had been simply renovated and tidied up. The scattered bricks and tiles were all cleaned up. At the same time, Chu Hen also noticed that Lei Zhen was sweating profusely, as if he had just finished his work. I'm really sorry to have caused you trouble again, Chu Hen said apologetically. I'm fine. Lei Zhen laughed heartily, revealing his clean teeth. This is nothing. When I was in St. Bell City, I could build a house in a day or two. It's just a renovation. It's a piece of cake for me. Chu Hen smiled. If he wanted to cultivate in the future, it would be better to go to the secret cultivation room. If he kept doing this, it would be very annoying. He could even imagine the angry look on Mu Feng's face when he came back in the afternoon. After chatting with Lei Zhen for a while, Chu Hen returned to his room. Then, he sat cross-legged on the bed and circulated the true yuan in his body to recuperate. Today's battle proved that Chu Hen's previous idea was very feasible. When the power of two kinds of runes were used together, it would have a very strong lethality. What outsiders didn't know was that in addition to the raging fire, frost, and thunder runes, Chu Hen also had the gale, water, and spirit gathering runes. In addition to the spirit gathering runes, the other 5 runes could be used together. But no matter what, the power of the runes did not originate from his own origin power. In terms of the strength of control, Chu Hen still needed to put in a lot of effort. Although he defeated Shen Yunxi today, Chu Hen couldn't be considered to have escaped unscathed. On a certain level, there was actually a little bit of luck involved. If Shen Yunxi was replaced by Wei Qingfan, it was hard to say whether he could defeat the opponent. Although the outside world said that the strength of these two people was relatively close, in Chu Hen's opinion, Wei Qingfan's cultivation was probably a level higher. Time ticked by quietly. In the room, Chu Hen's whole body was lingering in a soft golden light. Compared to before, Chu Hen's aura was obviously much more stable and calm, and his complexion had also recovered a little bit of color. At this moment, the true yuan in Chu Hen's body suddenly became restless, and his consciousness dived into the Dantian's sea of qi. In the sea of qi, a true yuan cyclone was spinning rapidly like a golden whirlpool, and a steady stream of true yuan was like a surging tide, flowing towards the major meridians in his body. Suddenly, the range of the true yuan cyclone became bigger and bigger, and the surging true yuan constantly set off huge waves in the sea of qi. Every inch of Chu Hen's skin and flesh was surging with a restless power. Then, the true essence cyclone began to move faster and faster, and the mighty true essence began to rapidly gather towards the cyclone. The restless energy fluctuations were like the magma brewing inside a volcano, abnormally fierce. This is a sign of core formation. Chu Hen was overjoyed. He was very clear that when the true yuan condensed to a certain degree, the true yuan cyclone would start to condense into a core. Once the core formation was formed, one would break through the elemental opening stage and step into the core transformation stage. Once one entered the core transformation stage, the strength of the true yuan would have a qualitative leap. Moreover, one would not need to rely on martial arts to achieve the effect of releasing true yuan and injuring people through the air. Chu Hen did not expect that he would seize the opportunity to break through at this time. He immediately steadied his mind and continuously controlled the true yuan in his body to gather in the Dantian's sea of qi. The true yuan cyclone rotated extremely quickly, and it rapidly shrank, compressing and condensing towards the center. However, things did not go as smoothly as Chu Hen had imagined. When the true yuan cyclone shrank to the size of a fist, the violent power caused Chu Hen to lose control for a moment. Along with the chaotic aura, a circle of scattered true yuan was released from within Chu Hen's body. Phew! Chu Hen opened his eyes and panted heavily. His forehead was covered with sweat, and even his back was a little cold. I failed. Chu Hen shook his head helplessly. Under normal circumstances, a lot of preparation work was needed to break through the bottleneck of true yuan core formation. The supply of spiritual energy was indispensable, and in some situations, the assistance of medicinal pills might also be needed. Chu Hen did not lack high-grade primordial crystal stones, and he also had a yuan burst pill. With these two auxiliary conditions, he could try to break through again. Just when Chu Hen had this thought, he was speechless to find that the sky outside was already bright. It's bright? Chu Hen was startled. He had closed his eyes for an entire night. Bright light shone through the window, signaling the beginning of a new day. Chu Hen got off the bed and moved his stiff limbs. After a whole night of rest, his injuries were mostly healed. Although his internal organs still had some dull pain, it was basically not a hindrance. Today was the day of the Earth Rankings Top 16. If Shen Yunxi did not participate in the competition, then Chu Hen would win without a fight and would advance to the next round. In that case, there was no need for him to go to the competition area. Forget it, let's go to the competition area first. I'll come back later. Since he had grasped the opportunity to break through to the core transformation stage, Chu Hen's mind was filled with this matter. However, he couldn't be sure if Shen Yunxi would really give up on the round of 16, so it was better to confirm it first. Morning. In the eastern district of the imperial capital, the competition area for the Earth Rankings Martial Competition. Boom. Everyone, welcome to the competition area for the Earth Rankings Top 16. I, Lu Tong, am honored to be the host and judge again. Following Lu Tong's loud and clear voice, the entire competition area was filled with a joyous atmosphere. Just like the day before, all 31 Martial House's deans were present, and each school's team was assigned their own seat. Only the deans of the Imperial Martial Academy, Imperial Wind Academy, Spirit Rhino Academy, Bright Moon Academy, and Giant Elephant Academy were seated in their respective seat. Compared to the day before, the atmosphere today was even more lively. Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Luo Mingshang, Long Xuanshuang, Xiao Yan, Bai Yue, and the rest. Many geniuses were shining brightly like stars in the sky. Today, Big Brother Chu Hen will be fighting first. On the Tifeng province's side, Yi Yao clenched her fist. Her pretty face was filled with anticipation and excitement. Although Chu Hen's opponent was exceptionally strong, Yi Yao was still confident in him. Sitting next to her was Yi Yu. The latter's eyes were filled with an indescribable complexity. Yesterday, she was humiliated by Chu Hen in front of everyone, causing her to be in a bad mood. When Wei Qingfan spoke to her, Yi Yu only gave a simple reply. Humph. Wei Qingfan's cold gaze was fixed on Chu Hen in the Tensei Prefecture's area. His face was full of mockery. You're unlucky to have encountered Shen Yunxi. On the Bright Moon Academy's side, Long Xuanshuang frowned, looking worried. What would happen next? She felt a headache coming on. Everyone. Lu Tong raised his arms and waved them off. He announced in a loud and excited voice, I believe everyone here can't wait for today's competition. Then, I won't say anything. Let's welcome the first group of contestants, Heavenly Star Chu Hen against Lingxi Shen Yunxi. Boom! The monstrous tide ignited the atmosphere of the audience, and all kinds of jubilant voices rose and fell. Shen Yunxi will win. Shen Yunxi champion. Shen Yunxi, do your best. Among the soaring cheers, almost all of them supported Shen Yunxi. Even the many students and mentors of the Heavenly Star Martial House had a worried look on their faces. Shortly after, under the different gazes of everyone present, Chu Hen was neither servile nor overbearing. With a calm expression, he walked onto the stage from the audience's seating area. Go down. It's impossible for you to win against senior brother Shen Yunxi. Don't waste time. They're not on the same level. Many of Shen Yunxi's supporters booed Chu Hen. However, what was puzzling was that Shen Yunxi did not appear on the Lingxi Martial House's side. Not only that, but all the mentors and students of the Lingxi Martial House seemed to be silent and gloomy. What was going on? Chapter 212. What's going on? Where's senior brother Shen Yunxi? Looking at Chu Hen, who had ascended the dueling ring, and not seeing Shen Yunxi appear for a long time, the atmosphere of the entire place could not help but become chaotic. Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Long Xuanshuang, Luo Mingshang, Bai Yue, Xiao Yan, and the other geniuses all revealed looks of confusion. Everyone's gazes swept towards the seating area of the Consonance Martial House. They saw that the mentors and students of the Consonance Martial House were all silent with gloomy faces. They swept through the entire audience, but did not see Shen Yunxi's figure. Shen Yunxi? He was beaten like a dog by Chu Hen last night. At this moment, a soft voice suddenly sounded from one of the audience seats. The other party had only said this casually, and did not intend to make a ruckus. But this voice just happened to reach the moment when the entire audience was in a state of confusion and silence. However, the effect caused by this soft voice was like a bolt from the blue, instantly exploding in the hearts of everyone present. Countless people's brains were shaken to the point of buzzing. After a short silence, many of Shen Yunxi's supporters directly hurled a torrent of abuse at that person. "What are you saying? Don't speak nonsense here. F***ck off, senior brother Shen Yunxi will lose to him? If you speak nonsense again, believe it or not, I won't be polite to you." However, that brother most likely also had a fiery temper. After being suddenly scolded, he immediately jumped 3 feet high and angrily retorted, "F***ck, can't I speak the truth? If not, then ask the people around me. Last night, we all saw with our own eyes that Shen Yunxi was completely crushed by Chu Hen." "That's right, we all saw it. Chu Hen, we support you." In an instant, many people from last night stood up in response. And then, a middle-aged man from the consonant's martial house stood up and said in a low voice, "Everyone, I am Shen Yunxi's direct mentor, Deng Chao. I will represent Shen Yunxi to forfeit." "What? Forfeit?" Boom. In the next second, the entire competition area became a pot of porridge. The uncontrolled scene was like an erupting volcano. Instantly, the atmosphere of the audience erupted into a frenzy. Everyone who didn't know what happened last night was extremely shocked. That sentence once again floated up in everyone's mind, and Shen Yunxi. Last night, they were beaten like dogs by Chu Hen. Shocking. Absolute shock. On the Bright Moon Academy's side, Long Xuanxuang frowned, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Luo Mingshang, Xiao Yan, Bai Yue, and the other geniuses were also shocked. On the spectator stand in the north, the host judge, Lu Tong, was stunned. Even the 5 deans had surprised looks on their faces. What had happened last night? Looking at the handsome youth on the arena, his expression was indifferent, his eyes were like an ancient well, and the corners of his mouth curled up into an arc that carried a hint of mockery. While they were shocked, many of Shen Yunxi's supporters raised questions. How could he possibly defeat senior brother Yunxi? He must have used a high-level talisman. That's right, using high-level talismans is against the rules of the competition. I strongly request that Shen Yunxi disqualify Chu Hen. The winner is Shen Yunxi. All sorts of condemnation arose in the audience, but very quickly, witnesses from last night stood up to speak for Chu Hen. "Can you guys stop talking nonsense? Last night, Chu Hen didn't use any high-level talismans at all. Damn it, I can't stand it anymore. If you don't believe me, you can ask Miss Yuchenyu. She was also there." "That's right, Miss Yuchenyu has the integrity to guarantee that she won't lie to you." As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes turned to Yuchenyu in the giant elephant martial house's spectator stand. "Miss Chenyu, can you say a few words?" "That." Yuchenyu smiled helplessly. Then, she stood up and looked at Chu Hen with a gentle gaze. Then, she said to Lu Tong and the deans of the 5 academies in the northern spectator stand, "I can prove that Chu Hen didn't use any talismans or similar items in his battle with Shen Yunxi last night." Her gentle and melodious voice directly crushed and suppressed all the doubtful voices. At this moment, no one in the audience had any doubts. No one would doubt the credibility of Yu Chenyu's words. There was no other reason than that she was the beloved daughter of the great general of the West Sea of the Sacred Star Dynasty. All sorts of chaotic noises rose and fell. However, those who had been the most ferocious just now all shut their mouths. Not to mention that Chu Hen didn't use any high-level talismans. Even if he did, it was only outside the competition area yesterday and wasn't restricted by the rules of the Earth List tournament. However, the reality of the situation once again shocked the audience. What followed was the jubilant cheers from the people of the Tensei Prefecture. The thunderous applause swept across the entire arena. Even Song Chunglai, Shadowless, and the other core teachers were especially excited and surprised at this moment. Ha ha ha, Chu Hen, good job. Congratulations to senior brother Chu Hen for making it to the top 8. Chu Hen, you're awesome. Li Hui, Zhou Lu, He Qingyuan, Lu Yu, and the others all stood up and cheered. Principal Jiang, the head of the Heavenly Star Academy, nodded in approval. This academy hadn't had a student make it to the top 8 of the all-school tournament for 4 to 5 years. Thinking of this, Principal Jiang couldn't help but look at the two geniuses, Xiao Yan and Bai Yue. On his slightly wrinkled face, there was a hint of anticipation. Wow, big brother Chu Hen is awesome. On the side of the Tifeng province, Yi Yao clapped her hands happily. Beside her, Yi Yu had an indescribably complicated expression on her face. This outcome was really beyond her expectations. Wei Qingfan's eyes were extremely gloomy, and there was a surge of coldness between his brows. He thought to himself, since that useless Shin Yunshi can't deal with you, then I'll do it myself. I hope you won't disappoint me. After some chaos, Lu Tong began to control the situation. Ahem, since contestant Shin Yunshi has forfeited, today's first battle will be won by contestant Chu Hen from the Heavenly Star Academy. Congratulations to Chu Hen for making it to the top 8 of the Earth leaderboard. Wow. The cheers were endless, and the applause was thunderous. At this moment, Long Xuan could finally put down the huge stone in her heart. At the same time, she was gradually unable to see through this brother of hers, who wasn't related by blood. In the past, there was almost nothing she didn't know about him, but now she felt that Chu Hen was full of secrets that no one knew about. However, Long Xuan didn't feel too pressured. She could clearly feel the deep affection Chu Hen had for her and Long Qingyang. He's already in the top 8. If we meet later on, it'll be the quarterfinals. Wouldn't it be a little embarrassing to ask him to give me the victory? On the side of the Imperial Martial Academy, Luo Mingshang held her cheek with her hand, and her beautiful eyes wandered as she muttered to herself. Previously, she had made a promise with Chu Hen that if the two of them were to meet in the top 32, Chu Hen would agree to give her the victory. Although some of it was a joke, some of it was also serious. After all, with one less battle, he would have an advantage over the other contestants in terms of stamina. This would also increase his chances of winning the championship. Big sister instructor Hong Lian, can I not fight for the championship? Luo Mingshang asked Hong Lian. Why? It's so boring. Huh. Hong Lian was a little surprised by Luo Mingshang's answer. Could boredom be a reason? In fact, Luo Mingshang didn't want to fight for the championship. This was just a task that Hong Lian had given her. However, seeing that Luo Mingshang wasn't interested, Hong Lian could only reply. Up to you. Anyway, the Earth List tournament isn't much of a challenge for you. Amidst the noise of the crowd, Chu Hen left the arena. However, he didn't return to the spectator seats in Tensei Prefecture. Previously, he had informed instructor Shilan and the others that he would return after his first round of competition. Chu Hen minded his own business and walked out from the exit of the competition area. The noise of the crowd was gradually left behind. The top 16 will continue. Let's invite the two contestants from the second round onto the stage. After leaving the arena, Chu Hen felt an indescribable sense of relief. He immediately headed in the direction of Tensei Prefecture. The venue of the competition was in the East District, while Tensei Prefecture was in the South District. Although they were two different urban areas, they were two adjacent areas. The distance between the two was only 2 streets. After a while, Chu Hen returned to the academy and went straight to his residence. Since he had seized the opportunity of the energy-gathering elixir last night, today's matter had occupied Chu Hen's mind. Although time was tight, if he had good control of his true inner force, it was still possible to complete the breakthrough before tomorrow's competition. Of course, this was Chu Hen's own perception and thoughts. After that, Chu Hen didn't say a word and calmed the restlessness in his heart, Then he withdrew 2 high-grade origin crystals and released the spirit convergence runes before he started to enter a state of cultivation. Buzz buzz. A steady stream of golden spiritual power was released from the primordial crystals like a spring, and it quickly gathered in the spirit-gathering seal, and then poured into the 8 extraordinary meridians in Chu Hen's body. At the same time, the meager heaven and earth spiritual power in the room was also like a stream flowing into a river, merging into Chu Hen's body at a speed several times faster than usual. Soon, Chu Hen entered the state of cultivation. The true inner force all over his body became extraordinarily active, as if every inch of flesh and skin was filled with amazing power. Then, Chu Hen's consciousness dived into the Dantian's sea of energy. The surging true inner force filled the entire sea of energy, and in the central area of the sea of energy, a group of true inner force swirled rapidly, constantly releasing powerful energy. Chapter 213. The top 16 of the Earth List tournament was in full swing. The whole city was looking forward to it, but Chu Hen returned to Tensei Prefecture early. In the room, Chu Hen sat on the bed, and the spirit-gathering seal floating in front of him constantly gathered the thin spiritual power of heaven and earth and the energy in the high-grade primordial crystal stones at a speed several times faster than usual and integrated into Chu Hen's body. Circles of golden light like water ripples hovered around Chu Hen's body, and an obscure and restless aura was transmitted from his body. In the air, there was a sudden trembling sound of a wave of air. Then, the energy inside Chu Hen's body instantly became unbearably chaotic. Together with a circle of scattered light, Chu Hen's body trembled violently, and with a muffled bang, the spirit-gathering seal floating in front of him suddenly burst into a mass of air waves. Failed again. Chu Hen opened his eyes, and there was a hint of disappointment in his pupils. Just like the first time, every time the true essence cyclone was compressed to a certain extent, the subsequent power would not be able to keep up. It seems that I can only use the Yuan burst pill, Chu Hen murmured in a low voice. He immediately moved his palm, and a dark red pill appeared between his fingers. However, just as Chu Hen was thinking about whether to take the Yuan burst pill, a soft voice suddenly came from the door. The absorption of the Yuan burst pill is too slow. If you take it now, I'm afraid you won't be able to make it in time for tomorrow's ranking competition. Chu Hen was shocked, and he quickly looked up. He saw that the door of his room was open, and a beautiful woman with long purple hair was leaning against the door frame, looking at him quietly with her gentle and moving eyes. Mentor, Chu Hen blurted out. The person who came was Shilan. The warm sunlight sprinkled on her snow-white skin, with a hint of redness, and her beautiful temperament was refined. Professor, why are you back as well? Chu Hen got up and walked up to him. Shilan's beautiful eyes looked up and her red lips parted. Come with me. Chu Hen wanted to ask again, but the other party had already turned around and left. After a moment of hesitation, Chu Hen decided to follow behind him. After a while, the two of them arrived at the maple forest one after another. Although it was already late autumn, the maple forest was still as red as a sea of fire. Usually, there would be many students cultivating in the wooden stake array, but because of the All-Academy martial competition, this place was especially quiet. Chu Hen had been following behind Shilan. Her exquisite and almost perfect figure made Chu Hen unable to take his eyes off her. Such a woman was worthy of being the most beautiful teacher in the imperial city. At this moment, Shilan suddenly turned around. Her gaze caught Chu Hen off guard. We're here. Chu Hen coughed lightly to ease the slight embarrassment in his heart. He then said, Professor, why did you bring me here? I just said that the absorption of the burst Yuan pill is slower. If you take it now, you won't be able to break through to the core transformation stage before tomorrow. I'm also thinking about this. Chu Hen touched his nose and said. However, after the battle with Shin Yunshi last night, Chu Hen had some ideas. If he were to encounter Wei Qingfan with his cultivation at the peak of the 9th level of the element opening realm, his chances of winning would be very slim. He could lose to anyone, but he definitely could not lose to Wei Qingfan. "I can help you." A gentle voice came out of Shilan's mouth. Chu Hen was startled and looked at her in surprise. Shilan tilted her body slightly and looked at the empty space behind her. She then said, "In the southwest area of the 100 Kingdoms state, there is a secret technique. This secret technique is called the Celestial Revolving Sacred Heart Technique." Celestial Revolving Sacred Heart Technique? Chu Hen murmured. This technique is a secret technique that creates opportunities for others. It includes extracting the heaven and earth spiritual energy from the caster's body and storing it in his own body. He then uses his own primordial qi to continuously refine the purest part of the spiritual energy. After years of accumulation, the pure energy will become enormous and can directly fuse into the body of the person who is under the spell. Shilan slightly paused and then continued, "Because the energy that is refined is very gentle, it is not as violent as the energy from elixirs or crystals. It can be quickly absorbed by the human body and has an advantage in terms of time. Most importantly, the Celestial Revolving Sacred Heart Technique does not have any side effect. No matter how fast one's cultivation level increases, there will not be any problems with an unstable foundation or true origin energy." After listening to Shilan's explanation, Chu Hen was amazed. There is actually such a secret technique in this world? The world is so big that it is not something you can imagine. There are more than 10 million great Daos in the world. In the future, you will know that the Sacred Star Empire is just a speck of dust in the vast sea of smoke. After listening to this, Chu Hen was even more amazed. At the same time, he felt that Shilan was not an ordinary person. Or rather, she was not born in the Sacred Star Empire. Combined with Chu Hen's understanding of Shilan, she most likely came to this new environment to forget the pain in her heart because of the unexpected death of her younger brother. The Celestial Revolving Sacred Heart Technique has great power. If you reach the highest level, you can even resurrect the dead. At this point, Shilan's expression turned gloomy. Her beautiful eyes were filled with sadness as she murmured softly, "Unfortunately, I was far from that level at that time. Shichen's soul has already returned to the netherworld and turned into bones." Her murmur was like a mosquito's buzz, and it tugged at Chu Hen's heartstrings. Although this beautiful woman in front of him was his teacher, her heart was so soft that it made his heart ache. At this point, Chu Hen understood that Shilan planned to use the Celestial Revolving Sacred Heart Technique to help him break through to the core transformation stage in the shortest time possible. "Teacher, if you use the Celestial Revolving Sacred Heart Technique, will it harm you?" Chu Hen did not believe that such a selfless secret technique would not harm the user. Shilan's eyes trembled slightly, and a ripple appeared in the depths of her heart. "A little, but it won't affect me too much." "What harm will it cause?" Chu Hen asked. "I'll only be weakened for a short period of time. You can rest assured that I know what I'm doing." "But you don't have much time left unless you want to lose to Wei Qingfan in the competition. I made a promise to Principal Jiang that you would definitely be able to enter the top 3 of the Earth rankings. Don't embarrass me." "Teacher, you?" Chu Hen couldn't help but find it funny. She was one of the top 3 on the Earth ranking, and she actually dared to say such a thing. However, when he thought about it again, with Shilan's personality, she most likely wouldn't make such a promise. She was just trying to reassure Chu Hen. However, since Shilan had already said so much, Chu Hen could not help but laugh. In the end, Chu Hen did not refuse. "Thank you in advance, teacher." Shilan smiled faintly, and a faint ripple appeared in her beautiful eyes. Then, she turned around and formed a few complicated seals with her slender and fair fingers. Strands of silver light lingered on her fingertips. Soon after, under Chu Hen's astonished gaze, the silver light transformed into hundreds of specks of light. Shilan gently raised her wrist, and with a flick of her finger, the hundreds of specks of light instantly dispersed, before falling onto the empty space in front of her. Buzz buzz, a powerful energy wave was released. At the same time, the hundreds of light spots on the ground emitted a bright light, and at the same time, they connected with each other and formed a dazzling array in the blink of an eye. The dead branches and leaves on the ground were all sent flying. Silver light patterns interweaved and emitted a shocking aura. "Teacher, are you also a pattern caster?" Chu-Hen asked in surprise. "No," Shilan replied gently. "Then how can you set up a talisman array?" "This is not a talisman array. It's just an ordinary, hidden spirit array." Shilan turned to look at Chu-Hen and continued to explain. "There are many types of arrays, and not only pattern casters can set up arrays. True inner force can also activate the operation of the array, but in comparison, pattern casters can control the array perfectly and exert the power of the array to the fullest." "Is it because of the runes?" Chu-Hen asked. "That's right." Shilan nodded in affirmation. "Pattern casters use runes to arrange arrays, but I only used pure true inner force just now. Runes can only be condensed with Reiki energy, so the difference between the two is quite big." Chu-Hen listened attentively. He did not expect his teacher to know so much. She was only a few years older than him, which made Chu-Hen feel that Shilan's identity was extraordinary. "All right, let's enter the array," Shilan said and took the lead to walk into the hidden spirit array. Buzz, the moment she entered the array, a layer of illusory ripples faintly appeared in the air. Chu-Hen followed closely, accompanied by the ripples. As soon as he entered the array, Chu-Hen felt that it was exceptionally quiet, and the environment outside the array was completely isolated, so he could not see through it at all. This hidden spirit array can not only prevent the leakage of spiritual energy, but it will also seal your six senses. During this period, you can avoid being disturbed by the outside world. Shilan explained softly. Chu-Hen nodded and smiled. "Teacher is really thoughtful." "Get ready," Shilan said as she sat on the ground. Chu-Hen also sat upright, and the two of them sat opposite each other, about half a meter apart. Facing such a beautiful and exquisite face, Chu-Hen was more or less a little uncomfortable. "Focus," Shilan said lightly, then she put her hands together, and her 10 fingers once again evolved into different hand gestures. Chapter 214. The Celestial Revolving Saint Heart Technique was a secret technique that allowed the caster to gather and condense energy for others to absorb. This was somewhat similar to sacrificing oneself to make a wedding dress for others. Chu-Hen did not know why teacher Shilan was so good to him, but Chu-Hen seemed to be unable to find a reason to reject her kindness. In the spirit concealing array, Chu-Hen and Shilan sat facing each other, separated by only half a meter. Chu-Hen could even smell the faint, elegant fragrance on each other's body. But very quickly, that wisp of arousing fragrance disappeared. Not only his sense of smell, but even his hearing and touch were all rendered useless. Just now, Shilan had already said that in order to avoid being disturbed by the outside world, the spirit concealing array had sealed off several of Chu-Hen's external sensory abilities. The only thing that could still be used was his consciousness, which had become even more acute. Buzz! After an unknown period of time, Chu-Hen felt that he had entered a very strange state. A strange scene appeared in his mind. Although he did not open his eyes, he could clearly sense every movement of Shilan in front of him. Shilan's hands constantly formed different kinds of seals, and a powerful aura was released from her body. Suddenly, a golden dot of light floated up from Shilan's body. The soft dot of light was like a fluorescent light, and it slowly floated toward Chu-Hen. The dot of light floated in front of Chu-Hen, and then drilled into the space between his eyebrows. In the next moment, Chu-Hen felt a strand of pure energy fusing into his body. That strand of energy directly flowed through his meridians and reached his dantian's qi-si. In an instant, it fused together with his true yuan qi whirlpool. Isn't this too fast? Chu Hen was shocked. There really was no need to refine and absorb it, and it could directly fuse with his true essence. Before Chu Hen had time to marvel at the miraculous effects of the celestial Saint Heart technique, golden specks of light were continuously released from Shilan's body. The specks of golden light were like fireflies dancing around the evening mist. Under the dazzling brilliance, her already beautiful face looked even more beautiful and moving. Under Shilan's control, countless golden light spots surged toward Chu Hen and integrated into his body. The strands of energy gathered together and instantly turned into a huge force. In an instant, Chu Hen's dantian was like a container that stored water. Endless pure energy was transferred from Shilan's body to her. These energies were all condensed by Shilan and could be said to be the purest energy. Not only were there no impurities in it, but it was also very gentle. During the process of absorption and fusion, not only did Chu Hen not feel the slightest bit abnormal, it was as if he was soaking in a hot spring. His whole body was warm and indescribably comfortable. As more and more pure energy was integrated into Chu Hen's body, the true essence in his dantian's dantian became extremely restless. The surging true essence was like the surface of the sea at high tide. The waves were turbulent and the clouds were scudding. Buzz buzz. Immediately, Chu Hen controlled the energy in his body and quickly integrated it into the true essence vortex, condensing and compressing it. The strength of the true essence continued to rise, and the aura emitted from Chu Hen's body also became more and more powerful. This time, when the true essence vortex was compressed to the size of a fist, it did not run out of strength like the previous 2 times. Chu Hen was secretly delighted. He immediately used all his strength to compress and condense the true essence vortex. Time passed slowly. The maple forest was still abnormally quiet. Chu Hen and Shilan sat opposite each other with their eyes lightly closed. The spirit concealment formation had completely sealed their auras and the power within them, not allowing any of it to leak out. If one probed from the inside of the formation, one would notice that Shilan's aura was getting weaker and weaker, while Chu Hen's power was getting stronger and stronger. However, Shilan also knew that Chu Hen had reached a critical moment at this time. Her slender fingers formed a strange gesture again. Buzz buzz. In an instant, rays of bright golden light spread from Shilan's body and gushed into Chu Hen's body. Compared to the specks of light, the power contained in the golden light beam was many times stronger and denser. Rays of golden light flowed into Chu Hen's body like streams flowing into a river. With such a huge supply of pure energy, Chu Hen seemed to be bathed in the holy light of the sun. Even his skin faintly glowed with a golden light. In his dantian's sea of qi, majestic surging power swept through all the major meridians. Chu Hen's mind shook and his aura multiplied. The true essence vortex rapidly compressed and converged. When it was compressed to an extremely small degree, the vortex suddenly burst out with a dazzling light along with a huge aura. Buzz buzz. Chu Hen only felt that his entire dantian's sea of qi had fallen into a violent turmoil. The dazzling light then burst to the limit and quickly disappeared. The restless energy spread out, and the true essence vortex had already disappeared. What replaced it was a golden essence core. The essence core had been formed, and he had entered the core transformation stage. Looking at the golden essence core that replaced the true essence vortex, Chu Hen was overjoyed. The golden essence core was about the size of a longan fruit. It was surrounded by a golden light and emitted a powerful aura. At this moment, Chu Hen could clearly feel that the strength of the true essence was more than 10 times stronger than before. From today onwards, this essence core would replace the true essence vortex and continuously release powerful energy. However, just as Chu Hen was about to leave, he found that the energy from Shilan's body was still continuously flowing into his dantian's sea of qi. Teacher! Chu Hen communicated with her through his consciousness. Soon, Shilan responded. Don't worry about anything else. Continue to channel the energy into the essence core. Although Chu Hen was puzzled, he still chose to do as he was told. The powerful pure energy flowed into Chu Hen's 8 extraordinary meridians like a torrent and integrated into the new essence core. The essence core was constantly being irrigated by the external energy, becoming more and more solid and vigorous. With a buzzing sound, Chu Hen's energy directly broke through the first level of the core transformation stage and entered the second level of the core transformation stage. This kind of speed was simply unimaginable. However, after helping Chu Hen break through to the second level of the core transformation stage, Shilan still had no intention of stopping. The Heaven Revolution's Sacred Heart continued to circulate, and more pure energy flowed into Chu Hen's body. The sun was setting. The evening glow dyed half of the sky red. Under the illumination of the sunset, the fiery red maple forest was extraordinarily beautiful. At this moment, Shilan had already exited the hidden spirit array. She sat under a maple tree with her back leaning against the thick trunk. Red maple leaves fell beside her like fallen butterflies. Shilan's face was slightly pale, and her breathing was very sluggish. Even so, it did not affect her beauty at all. Instead, it added a delicate and weak beauty to her beauty. Not far away, Chu Hen was in the hidden spirit array. At this moment, he was still in a deep state of cultivation. Specks of light lingered around him. The handsome young man's face was angular, and he gave people a sense of youth's sharpness and vigor. Shilan raised her head and looked at the light blue sky with her beautiful eyes. Her exquisite facial contours were so perfect that not the slightest flaw could be found. Her eyes, which were as soft as water, were filled with a trace of heartbreaking sadness. The scene from a few years ago involuntarily surfaced in her mind. Haha, I finally got the limitless tooth. One day I, Shi Chen, will definitely become the strongest man in this world. A 15-year-old young man stood on the balcony's railing. He was in high spirits, and his whole body was emitting a youthful vigor and vitality. The purple-haired girl standing behind him smiled and shook her head. Be careful, don't fall down. No. With you here, I won't fall down. The young man turned around and looked at the girl. His slightly immature face was filled with an excited smile. Sister, thank you for the gift you gave me. With this limitless tooth, I will definitely be able to complete tomorrow's mission easily. Why are you being so polite with me? The purple-haired girl patted him lightly, indicating for him to come down and not stand so high. I still have something to tell you. The young man smiled and jumped down. He stood straight and said, Yes, please instruct me, Sister Shilan. Idiot. The purple-haired girl laughed and scolded him. Then, she said, I've already made some progress in the Celestial Sacred Heart technique. I want to perform the technique for you today and help you raise your cultivation. It will also help you make sufficient preparations for tomorrow's mission. It can't be. Sister, did you really cultivate that crappy Celestial Sacred Heart technique? That secret technique doesn't benefit you at all. Why are you cultivating it? As long as it benefits you. The purple-haired girl smiled faintly. No. If you perform the Celestial Sacred Heart technique on me, you will definitely be in a weak state for a few months. If the sect assigns you a mission, it will definitely be very inappropriate. You have just become a palace disciple. If anything happens to you at this juncture, it will greatly affect your future competition for the position of sect master. The young man continued, What's more, I have to leave tomorrow before the sun rises. The time is too short, and the technique's help to me is limited. We'll talk about it after I finish the mission. But seeing the young man so determined, the purple-haired girl did not continue to insist. All right then. When you come back, I will perform the Celestial Sacred Heart technique on you. It will be considered as preparation for your next mission. Also, when you carry out the mission tomorrow, Don't try to be brave if you encounter danger. You must retreat in the shortest time possible. Here we go again. Sister, you're so long-winded. I've already said it 100 times, no, 101 times. Hurry up and find a man to marry. Go and bother him every day, don't bother me. What nonsense are you talking about? You're asking for a beating. Hee, I won't dare. Chapter 2:15. The sky gradually darkened, and the imperial capital once again entered its bustling nighttime period. The streets and alleys were bustling with people, feasting, singing, and dancing to celebrate peace. Even though the brothel was full, the hearts of the people were lonely. TSK, today's round of 16 is really exciting. Wei Qingfan is too brave. I'm 100% sure he'll win. In the brightly lit restaurant, the atmosphere gradually became lively. Busybodies drank fine wine while discussing the exciting duels that had taken place during the day. Wei Qingfan is indeed the #1 genius of the Wei clan's younger generation. The lethality of that death sun wheel is really terrifying. His chances of winning are indeed high, but the others have a chance too. Yao Zhan is a strong competitor. Imperial Martial Academy's Luo Mengchang is really unexpected. I've only heard that she's beautiful, but I've never heard of her cultivation. I didn't expect her to be so talented. I also didn't expect Luo Mengchang to have mastered the power of the 3 seals of St. Bell City. No, it's not just 3. Today, she only used 3 to defeat her opponent. If her opponent can persist, Luo Mengchang's performance might be even more surprising. Hearing this, the people in the crowd could not help but narrow their eyes. In fact, among all the contestants, Luo Mengchang gave off the most vague feeling, as if no one could see through her. Everyone only knew that she was one of the 4 beauties of the imperial capital and possessed amazing beauty. Other than that, it seemed that even the people of Imperial Martial Academy could not see through Luo Mengchang's true strength. Tomorrow, Luo Mengchang's opponent is Giant Elephant Martial House's Shangguanyan. Shangguanyan is also very powerful. Among the popular candidates to win, she is also very popular. I believe that tomorrow's battle will be able to test Luo Mengchang's true cultivation. The battle of the top 8 is really exciting. Do you think that Chu Hen from Heavenly Star Academy can make it to the top 4? That's a little hard to say. Even Shen Yunxi was defeated by him. Chu Hen is really a hidden master. However, Chu Hen's opponent this time is Yao Zhan. In terms of ferocity, Shen Yunxi is probably inferior to Yao Zhan. In any case, I support Yao Zhan. I didn't see what happened last night. God knows how that Chu Hen defeated Shen Yunxi. He probably used some shameful means to plot against Shen Yunxi. Besides, even if Chu Hen defeats Yao Zhan, the one waiting for him will most likely be Wei Qingfan. I dare say that Chu Hen will definitely die if he encounters Wei Qingfan. The Earth List tournament had gradually reached its most crucial stage. At the same time, it was also the moment that everyone was looking forward to the most. The round of 16 had passed, and the round of 8 was about to begin. As for who would have the last laugh and become the champion of this year's Earth rankings, everyone in the city was waiting to see. Tensei Prefecture, Maple Forest. Although the sky had completely darkened, Shilan still stayed near Chu Hen. In the spirit-concealing array, Chu Hen's eyes were tightly shut. A soft light lingered around his body like circles of water ripples. Chu Hen's breathing rhythm was very even. He sat like a rock, as steady as an old monk in meditation. According to Shilan's estimation, Chu Hen would only wake up tomorrow morning at the earliest. She used the Celestial Saint Heart technique to transfer the pure energy that had been stored in her body all these years to Chu Hen. After all, his cultivation had increased too quickly, and it was necessary to take some time to adapt to the strength of the primordial core. Sha. At this moment, the sound of footsteps attracted Shilan's attention. She stood up and looked sideways. She saw 2 young figures, a man and a woman, walking towards her. They were none other than Zhou Lu and Li Hui. Mentor? Why are you here? Have you seen senior brother Chu Hen? Li Hui and Zhou Lu saw that Xilan was here, and their faces were full of surprise. And the purpose of their visit was to find Chu Hen. Speaking of which, Chu Hen had not been seen for the whole day. The mammoth Marshall House was also not around, and he did not go to the Bright Moon Academy. The two were a little worried, so they searched around the academy and ended up here. Xilan's beautiful eyes lifted slightly, and she pointed to a position behind her. The two looked over, and when they saw Chu Hen in the spirit-concealing array, they were even more shocked. Why is he here? Zhou Lu blurted out. Do you still need to ask? Mentor Xilan must be secretly helping Chu Hen improve his strength. Li Hui was smart for once, but in his heart, he thought that Mentor Xilan was very biased. Of course, it was not only Li Hui who thought this way. In fact, the entire Tensei Prefecture knew that Xilan was biased towards Chu Hen, and that she usually taught once every 5 days, but when it came to Chu Hen, it became once every 2 days. Many people were envious of him. Mentor, when will Chu Hen wake up? Zhou Lu asked. We'll have to wait till tomorrow morning at the earliest. Xilan replied softly, and then casually asked, Is the name list for tomorrow's quarterfinals out? Yes. Zhou Lu nodded, and said seriously, The first battle is Huang Wu Luo Mengchang against Mammoth Shangguan Yen. The second battle is senior brother Xiao Yan against Bright Moon Long Xuanshuang. The third battle is Imperial Wind Wei Qinfan against Thunder Qinlu. Chu Hen is in the fourth battle, and his opponent is Huang Wu Yaozhan. When she said these words, Zhou Lu's eyes were still a bit solemn. Today, when they were dispersing, Yao Zhan had publicly declared that within 10 moves tomorrow, he would definitely defeat Chu Hen on the stage. Mentor Shadowless's direct disciple was eliminated. Xilan murmured softly. Li Hui nodded. Senior sister Bai Yue met Huang Wu Luo Mengchang today, and I didn't expect Luo Mengchang to have mastered 3 types of Saint Bell City runes. Senior sister Bai Yue was eliminated. So that's how it is. Xilan didn't seem to have much of an emotional fluctuation. In fact, she had heard a little about Luo Mengchang. Although Luo Mengchang didn't say how talented she was still a direct disciple of Red Lotus. Xilan didn't know Luo Mengchang, but she knew Red Lotus very well. A disciple that Red Lotus liked so much was definitely not an ordinary person. It was understandable that Bai Yue lost to Luo Mengchang. Song Chunglie's direct disciple, Xiao Yan, had also successfully made it to the top 8. Together with Chu Hen, there were 2 students in the top 8. This result was already on par with Huang Wu Academy. This far exceeded the expectations of the upper echelons of Tensei Prefecture. From today onwards, Tensei Prefecture would also get rid of the worst and last reputation. It's the 4th battle. If there are no accidents, we'll definitely be able to make it, Xilan said to the 2 of them. But Mentor Chu Hen's opponent this time is Yao Zhan. That person is much more ferocious than Xin Yunxi. Zhou Lu replied with some worry. The choice is not with me. All right. The 2 of them looked at each other, and Li Hui said, Then Mentor, we'll go back first. Okay. After a simple explanation, Zhou Lu and Li Hui left. Since Chu Hen and Xilan were together, they had nothing to worry about. But in the end, Xilan's favoritism towards Chu Hen was really enviable. Buzz buzz. At this moment, Chu Hen was constantly using his consciousness to guide the huge amount of true origin energy in his body through all the major meridians in his body, completing one qi circulation after another. The golden Yuan Dan in his Dantian's sea of qi contained an extremely shocking amount of power. Compared to when the Yuan Dan was first formed, the current Yuan Dan was a whole circle bigger. It was already at the peak of the 2nd level of the core transformation realm, and there were signs of it breaking through to the 3rd level at any time. The power of the celestial rotation Saint Heart far exceeded Chu Hen's expectations. Moreover, the power of the Yuan Dan was growing at a relatively slow speed. If one observed carefully, one would notice that the surface of the Yuan Dan was faintly surrounded by wisps of white energy. This white energy was none other than the mysterious ice energy left behind in the Ice Moon Demon Wolf's spiritual origin liquid. Previously, this mysterious ice energy existed beside the true origin cyclone. Now that the true origin core was transformed, it naturally attached itself to the Yuan Dan. Buzz buzz. Suddenly, a strange energy fluctuation came from Chu Hen's Naiwan Palace. What was going on? Chu Hen was startled, and he hurriedly used his divine sense to enter his brain's Naiwan Palace. In the dim and hazy space, a 2-meter-tall street tree was emitting exuberant Reiki energy. Every leaf on the street tree was shining with a silver luster. The silver luster flowed like the ancient secret talisman in the area above the street tree. The shadow of a golden bell was suspended there. A soft light lingered around the bell's body, and it was filled with a strong and restless aura. At this moment, something unexpected happened to Chu Hen. The street tree blossomed with a brilliant light, and every leaf was swaying. The exuberant Reiki energy was like a tide, and it filled the entire Naiwan Palace. Buzz buzz, in a split second, the main trunk of the street tree grew at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the branches became thicker. The street tree grew at an extremely fast speed. The branches grew longer, and new leaves grew out. As the street tree continued to grow, the Naiwan Palace also gradually expanded and became wider. Chu Hen looked at the growing street tree in amazement, and he was pleasantly surprised. 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters in just a short while, the street tree directly grew from the original 2 meters to more than 10 meters. The towering tree that was more than 10 meters tall had luxuriant branches and leaves, and it was full of vitality. The trunk was as wide as a water tank. Countless leaves of the street tree swayed and flickered, emitting vitality. Feeling the Reiki energy that was many times stronger than before, Chu Hen was surprised and happy. From today onwards, he would be an intermediate inscription master. Chapter 216. A day flew by, and the Earth List tournament that the whole city was looking forward to was now reaching its climax. None of the geniuses who made it into the top 8 were mediocre. And who would be able to laugh in the end? It was the focus of everyone's attention, and the expectations of the whole nation. Early in the morning, it was almost noon. The eastern region of the city had already set off a monstrous atmosphere of excitement. The entire competition area was overcrowded, and even the steps were filled with people. At this moment, the students of the major martial houses were reduced to spectators. At this moment, the protagonists of the competition area were only Imperial Wind Wei Qinfan, Huangwu Yaozhan, Huangwu Luo Mengchang, Giant Elephant Shangguanyan, Bright Moon Long Xuanshuang, Heavenly Star Xiaoyan, and Thunder Qin Lu. Of course, in addition to this, everyone's eyes would occasionally look at the Tensei Prefecture's spectator seats, looking for the figure of a young and handsome youth. However, that figure had yet to appear. What's going on? Why isn't that Chu Hen from Heavenly Star here yet? Who knows? He's probably scared. Yesterday, Yao Zhan said that within 10 moves, he would definitely defeat Chu Hen outside the arena. Yao Zhan's words scared him so much that he doesn't dare to appear? It's really funny. I'm really curious how he defeated Shen Yunxi. As the audience discussed in low voices, their eyes subconsciously swept towards the Spirit Rhino Martial House's spectator seat. Today, Shen Yunxi had also come, but his face was pale, and he looked like he had yet to recover from a serious injury. He sat quietly in the spectator seats, and his weak aura did not have the slightest bit of his past heroic bearing. Many of Shen Yunxi's supporters could not help but secretly shake their heads when they saw this. He was originally a strong contender for the championship, but he did not expect to fall on the way to the top 8, and to withdraw by forfeiting. This made countless people doubt Chu Hen's strength and methods. Seeing that the first battle was about to begin, the Tensei Prefecture area seemed a little anxious. What's going on? Why isn't Chu Hen here yet? Song Chenglai asked a few of teacher Shilan's direct disciples. Oh yes. Li Huiyi hurriedly stood up and replied, Hunter Ching, Chu Hen was with teacher Shilan the entire time yesterday. Mentor Shilan said that they will arrive before the start of the fourth battle. With Shilan? The surrounding people were all startled. It seemed that in their impression, Shilan would never be alone with a student in private. However, the instructors were all smart people, so they could naturally guess the reason behind it. It was likely that Shilan wanted to help Chu Hen break through to the core transformation stage at the most crucial moment, so as to increase their chances of winning the next two matches. It's too late to make a last-minute effort. The person who spoke was Yu Yi, the core instructor who had always been dissatisfied with Shilan. We'll find out later whether it's too late or not. Instructor Shadowless smiled slightly. His tone seemed to be biased toward Shilan. He then said, As for you, Instructor Yu Yi, why are you always arguing with a little girl in her 20s? I don't think Mentor Shilan has offended you. Humph. Yu Yi snorted coldly and turned his head away. Principal Jiang, who was in charge of the Heavenly Star Academy, was lost in thought when he saw this scene. Ji Xian had secured a fixed spot on the Heaven Roll, and Chu Hen had made it to the top 8 of the Earth Roll. This was enough to prove Shilan's teaching ability. With the appearance of the 5 deans and the appearance of the referee, Lu Tong, the atmosphere in the arena continued to rise. All kinds of jubilant applause and cheers swept through the arena like waves. Shangguan Yen, Luo Mengchang. Cough cough. I've just arrived and I can already feel everyone's eagerness. This shows the charm of our imperial city's 2 great beauties. Haha. Lu Tong began to put on his professional style again. However, it had to be said that everyone was very impressed. An earth-shattering round of applause swept across the arena. All right, I won't say any more nonsense, lest I get despised. Next, let's welcome Imperial Martial Academy's Luo Mengchang and Giant Elephant Martial House's Shangguan Yen. I hereby announce that the quarterfinals of the Earth Roll Tournament will now begin. Boom! Waves of cheers continued to rise and erupt, especially for the many male spectators, who were all extremely excited. Luo Mengchang was one of the 4 beauties of the Imperial City. Shangguan Yen was also one of the 6 pearls. In the Imperial City, which had a total population of more than 60 million, there was no lack of beautiful women who could outshine the moon and put flowers to shame. However, the 4 beauties of the Imperial City and the 6 pearls of the Imperial City were recognized by everyone as the best of the best. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, Luo Mengchang, who was wearing a white floral dress, and Shangguan Yen, who was wearing a tight red dress, stepped onto the arena from their respective areas. After more than 20 intense battles over the past 2 days, the huge arena was already in a state of devastation. Large and small pits and ravines were everywhere, but this did not affect the mood of the crowd to watch the battles. Luo Mengchang, do your best. We support you. Shangguan Yen, you must win. I'm optimistic that you will become the champion. The battle between the 2 beauties on the same stage was like a beautiful scenery, attracting the attention of countless people. Luo Mengchang's temperament was refined, and her beauty could topple cities. She gave off a lively and refreshing feeling. Shangguan Yan's aura was relatively indifferent. She had the calmness of Bai Yuyue, and the coldness of Long Xuanshuang. In terms of appearance, Luo Mengchang could be said to be extremely beautiful, surpassing any of the women present. However, in terms of aura, it was obvious that Shangguan Yen was stronger. Junior sister Mengchang, please advise me. Shangguan Yan's red lips parted slightly as she said lightly. Luo Mengchang smiled faintly. Her bright eyes were especially captivating. I've long heard of senior sister Shangguan's name. Now that I've seen you today, you really live up to your reputation. In terms of appearance, who in this imperial city can compare to junior sister Mengchang? In front of you, I'm also ashamed. Aya, senior sister, you're praising me as soon as the battle started. I'm embarrassed. Luo Mengchang smiled, and a hint of playfulness appeared between her brows. Although they were opponents, to be honest, Shangguan Yen did not feel the slightest bit disgusted. Luo Mengchang's every frown and smile were full of spirituality, without the slightest pretense. This could be seen from her eyes. Shangguan Yen smiled faintly. Make your move. I'm looking forward to seeing your true strength. Well, senior sister Shangguan, be careful. Whoosh. As soon as she finished speaking, a sword suddenly appeared in Shangguan Yan's palm. The body of the sword seemed to be made of rubies, and its entire body was crystal clear like a red crystal. Its aura was fierce. Along with a burst of rapid airflow, Shangguan Yen disappeared on the spot with a xiao sound, as if she had teleported. Her speed was so fast that it left everyone dumbfounded. What a fast speed! The crowd below the arena exclaimed. It is said that Shangguan Yan's bloodline limit is related to speed. Her speed can be said to be unparalleled among the top 8 contestants. I'm afraid Luo Mengchang is in some trouble. In just a short moment, Shangguan Yen had already appeared on the right side of Luo Mengchang. Her long sword danced, and a bright red glow bloomed. The sword light was like a flowing shadow and directly attacked. Junior sister Mengchang, be careful. The unparalleled speed made everyone in the arena widen their eyes. Could it be that one move was going to decide the outcome of the battle? Bang! The next moment, a sparkling and translucent ice shards splashed and danced in the air, and the cold air scattered in all directions. Everyone was shocked. They saw a thick ice shield suddenly appear on the right side of Luo Mengchang. The sharp sword was embedded in the ice shield, but there was still a small distance between it and Luo Mengchang's body. In the palm of the opponent's right hand, a white rune emitted a bright light. It's the frost sigil. The crowd below the arena exclaimed. Senior sister Shangguan, be careful. Luo Mengchang reminded. Crack. Immediately after, a white frost quickly spread along the opponent's sword towards Shangguan Yan's arm. The bone-chilling coldness caused white steam to rise in the air. Shangguan Yan's cold eyes narrowed, and then a surge of true yuan power gushed out. Bang! An enormous hidden force violently surged forth. In an instant, the frost that covered the sword was directly shattered into pieces. Immediately after, a powerful sword force erupted, and the ice shield in front of Luo Mengchang was blasted into countless pieces of various sizes. However, just as the sword in Shangguan Yan's hand was about to attack her opponent again, a soft blue light blossomed from Luo Mengchang's body. The blue light was crystal clear, sparkling and rippling under the sunlight. It was actually a water film. Hua! In just an instant, Luo Mengchang completed the conversion from the frost sigil to the water sigil, and a majestic torrent of water surged towards Shangguan Yen like a waterfall. Although Shangguan Yan's sword force was fierce, the resistance caused by the water sigil was also extraordinary. At the moment of resistance, Shangguan Yen raised her wrist slightly and swung her sword upwards. Hiss! A red sword light several meters wide split the waves, and with an unstoppable power, it broke through the torrent of water and slashed towards Luo Mengchang. Chi. However, at this moment, a bright and dazzling lightning pillar lingered around Luo Mengchang's body, and the sigil on her palm turned into a silver lightning sigil. Countless people in the room were shocked by this. In just a blink of an eye, from the frost sigil to the water sigil, and then to the lightning sigil. What kind of control did she have to reach to be able to change it so freely? Luo Mengchang was definitely not an ordinary person. This was the common thought in everyone's mind. Chi, the dozens of lightning pillars that lingered around Luo Mengchang's body shot out, setting off an extremely shocking power, and directly met the red sword light that split the waves. Chapter 217. Boom, boom. The dozens of lightning pillars around Luo Mengchang's body swept up an extremely shocking power and collided with the red sword light that was splitting the waves. The sharp sword light and the violent lightning pillar collided head-on. Under the especially shocked gazes of everyone present, the red sword light was directly shattered. The dozens of lightning pillars were unstoppable, and the offensive did not decrease as they attacked Shangguan Yen in front of them. Shangguan Yan's pretty face changed slightly. In the face of this extremely destructive lightning power, she did not dare to take it lightly. Her figure moved, and her figure flashed towards the area behind her like a phantom. However, what surprised everyone was that Luo Mengchang's attack did not catch up to Shangguan Yen. In the next moment, the powerful lightning power actually impacted on the water wave that had just erupted from the water curse seal. A large area of water still permeated the surface of the platform and had not yet subsided, and a large area was spread around Shangguan Yen. When the dozens of lightning power impacted on the water, dense electric arcs spread all over the surface of the water. What is she doing? Looking at the manic electric arcs flowing on the water wave that surrounded Shangguan Yen, everyone in the audience was shocked. She's really smart. Using the characteristics of water to fuse with electricity, Shangguan Yen was surrounded on all sides. Amazing. Although this move is very good, more importantly, Luo Mengchang's ability to control the runes is too skilled. She can completely do as she pleases. As everyone knew, when the power of two different runes of different attributes came into contact, they would repel each other. However, this was not the case for Luo Mengchang. The power of the water curse seal had already been removed, and she was now just using the water that had spilled on the platform to fuse with the power of the lightning curse seal. Even so, her way of doing things still caused people to exclaim in admiration. Shangguan Yen was in the central area of the water, and she was surrounded by lightning arcs that crisscrossed in all directions. Senior Sister Shangguan, be careful! Luo Mengchang raised her eyebrows slightly, and a faint smile appeared in her bright eyes. Chi, in an instant, the power of thunder and lightning surrounding Shangguan Yen from all directions quickly interweaved into a net. The net rose high from all directions and whizzed towards Shangguan Yen in the center with the momentum of a cage. A series of heavy thunderstorms exploded in the air. His aura shocked everyone present, stirring up the airflow in all directions. Shangguan Yan's eyes turned cold in the face of the lightning net that was coming at her from all directions. Then, a powerful sword aura gushed out from her body. The astonishing sword aura exuded an unshakable might. Shangguan Yen swung her sword, causing surging sword qi to form a circle that completely repelled the lightning net that pounced towards her. Bang bang! A series of explosions rang out on the table, and a series of sparks flew out wantonly. In the blink of an eye, Shangguan Yen had resolved the current crisis. Alright. Just as many of Shangguan Yan's supporters applauded and praised, something unexpected happened. The next second after the lightning net was repelled, a scorching heat wave rose up, and then 4 pillars of fire appeared without warning in the 4 directions of Shangguan Yen. What? This shocking scene immediately caused the audience below the stage to widen their eyes. Luo Mengchang's palms faced each other in front of her. Traces of genuine origin energy lingered around her fair fingers, and in the middle of her palms, there was a red, glass-like rune that flickered with resplendent light. This is Lai Fire Rune. Oh my god, it's the 4th type of rune. She has actually mastered the power of 4 runes. In the battle between Luo Mengchang and Bai Yue in yesterday's round of 16, the power of the 3 runes of frost, water, and thunder shocked everyone present. They never thought that the other party would actually have a 4th type of rune. Especially the tribe members who had been to Xingzhong City before. At this moment, their faces were filled with disbelief. Wei Qingfan, Shen Yunxi, Bai Yue, Long Xuanshuang, and Yi Yao, these geniuses who had obtained runes before, could not help but frown slightly, their faces solemn. Others might not know, but they all knew that it was not easy to obtain the power of the illusionary spirit bell. Hong Lian, who was in the Imperial Martial Academy's spectator seats, sneered disdainfully. A group of ignorant fools, Do you really think that Menchong is just a vase with an empty appearance? Before the All-Academy martial competition, there were indeed some people who did not know the truth that Luo Menchong was only beautiful and had ordinary talent, but only Hong Lian knew what kind of extraordinary talent Luo Menchong had. Just based on her ability to control the runes, it was enough to surpass countless people present. Boom! 4 towering pillars of fire directly blocked Shangguan Yan's path of retreat. Each pillar of fire was 5 to 6 meters wide and 30 meters tall. The scorching heat wave burned the space, causing it to faintly distort. Under Luo Menchong's control, the 4 pillars of fire all shot towards Shangguan Yan in the center. The raging flames caused the heaven and earth to lose their color. The 4 pillars of fire were like soaring dragons, like dancing dragons, stirring up a monstrous momentum that shook the surroundings. Shangguan Yan's delicate eyebrows slightly knitted, a trace of determination flashing in her eyes. Then, an unprecedented powerful sword force erupted from her body. Shangguan Yan pointed the tip of her treasured sword upwards, vertically placing it in front of her. The index and middle fingers of her left hand stretched out, pressing against the sword's body and pushing upwards. Buzz! In an instant, an extremely astonishing transcendent aura instantly surged like a flood, and the treasured sword in Shangguan Yan's hand blossomed with a demonic red light. Then, she leaped up, flashing more than 10 meters high in the air. Sword rainbow, dazzling light slash! Along with Shangguan Yan's soft and cold shout, endless red sword shadows blossomed like a red radiant sun with holy light. Countless red sword shadows were released in all directions like auroras, as if tens of thousands of swords were returning to their origin, illuminating everything with red light. Endless cold murderous intent swept in all directions. Thousands of red sword shadows directly launched a frenzied attack on the 4 flood dragon-like pillars of fire. Boom! In an instant, an incomparably intense energy shock exploded on the arena. Everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment, as they were filled with the overwhelming flames and aurora-like sword shadows. Fireballs splashed wantonly. Sword energy was released all over the sky. The chaotic and gorgeous scene made countless people's hearts hang in suspense. The heaven and earth changed color, the wind blew, and the clouds surged. Circles of scorching heat waves rolled up the sand and stones on the arena, spreading towards the surrounding spectator seat. With Shangguan Yan at the center, more than half of the arena was enveloped in a curtain of fire. The faces of the spectators were illuminated in red. Many genius students were shocked. Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Xiao Yan, and Long Xuanshuang, who had not yet entered the arena, all had their own thoughts. Sure enough, there were no weaklings in the top 8. In the previous battles, everyone had held back. Sword rainbow, burning sun slash. A cold voice was heard again, and everyone's heartstrings trembled. They saw a sword shadow that was tens of meters wide shoot out, directly splitting the soaring curtain of fire in front of it. In the next moment, Shangguan Yan flew out of the slashed curtain of fire like a swallow returning to its nest. The powerful sword aura directly locked Luo Menchong in front of her. Junior sister Menchong, I'm afraid I've won this battle. Shangguan Yan's speed was extremely fast, flashing a series of afterimages in the air. She pointed her sword at Luo Menchong in front of her, and circles of dense red sword patterns lingered up and down. However, Luo Menchong's elegant and refined face did not have the slightest hint of panic, and the corners of her small mouth curled up into a slight smile. That's not necessarily the case. As soon as she finished speaking, Shangguan Yan's sword had already arrived in front of her, but just as the tip of the sword was about to touch Luo Menchong, there was a swoosh sound. Everyone only saw an illusory flowing shadow flash in front of them, and Luo Menchong disappeared on the spot like a phantom. Her speed was not inferior to Shangguan Yan's at all. What? Zing! Shangguan Yan's sword pierced the air, causing a crisp metallic sound. Immediately after, the entire competition area fell into an incomparable silence. Luo Mengchang, who had retreated to the area behind Shangguan Yen, had long hair and clothes fluttering, showing off her peerless beauty. And in front of her, a green seal rune was suspended in the air, with a glaze-like luster that stung the eyes of countless people. "Oh my God, that's the Gale seal!" A trembling voice came from one of the spectators' seat. Boom! Following that, the entire audience was in an uproar, and everyone's face showed a strong sense of disbelief. Damn, 5 types of seal runes! At this moment, even the deans of the various martial houses could no longer maintain their composure. One by one, they secretly shook their heads, with a look of amazement on their faces. On the special viewing platform in the north, Imperial Wind Academy's Dean Yu Yen looked at Imperial Martial Academy's Guan Du mockingly. "Humph, you really hit it well. There's such a talented genius, but you actually didn't release any news." "Ha ha!" Guan Du smiled indifferently with a little pride. "Actually, I didn't know about this." Continue pretending. "This time, I really didn't pretend. Although this girl came to my Imperial Martial Academy at the age of 14, she has always been very quiet and low-key. I only got to know about her situation from Teacher Red Lotus yesterday." The other deans did not believe Guan Du's words at all, and no longer cared about it. In the arena, Shangguan Yan's jade-like hand clenched the long sword in her hand, and her gaze towards Luo Mengchang was still cautious. However, Luo Mengchang suddenly dispersed the Gale seal in her palm, and her aura also converged. "What's the meaning of this?" Shangguan Yen asked. Luo Mengchang gently let out a sigh of relief, shook her head, and said, "If the fight continues, I don't know when it will end. It's a little troublesome. The victory of this match will be counted as senior sister Shangguan's victory." As soon as these words came out, the entire audience immediately went into an uproar. Luo Mengchang actually chose to admit defeat? It seemed like the other party was not at a disadvantage. Other than Hong Lian, the rest of the people were very puzzled. "You're giving the victory to me?" Shangguan Yen slightly frowned. Chapter 218. "I've been fighting for so many days and I'm so annoyed. Even if I win against you, I don't want to continue," Luo Mengchang said helplessly. Seeing that the other party did not look like she was lying, Shangguan Yan's aura also disappeared. She looked at Luo Mengchang with a faint smile. "I thought I was the only one who was bored. So you're the same." Luo Mengchang was slightly stunned. "To be honest, I'm not sure if I can beat you. Although I haven't done my best, you're the same." From the beginning, Luo Mengchang had only used the power of 5 kinds of runes and had not used any other power. It could be seen that she had not exerted her full strength. Shangguan Yen continued, "So, neither of us has lost this match. Let's consider it a draw. What do you think?" "A draw?" Luo Mengchang was not the only one who was stunned. Even the audience was surprised. "Well, Senior Shangguan, you don't have to be so serious," Luo Mengchang said. Shangguan Yen shook her head. Her gaze swept across Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Xiao Yan and the others who had yet to enter the stage, before replying, "The top 8 are more or less enough. My goal isn't the Earth List tournament, but the Heavenly List tournament." Hearing this, Luo Mengchang immediately understood. It turned out that Shangguan Yen wanted to keep more of her trump cards to deal with the Heaven List battle in the future. Although the champion of the Earth List was important, there were still geniuses like Wei Qingfan and Yao Zhan blocking the way. Since the chances of winning the championship were not high, it was better to have a backup plan to deal with the later difficulties. Ahem. The host judge, Lu Tong, spoke at this time and said loudly, "Both of you, before you choose a draw, I need to remind you that a draw means that neither of you will be able to advance to the next round. In other words, once both of you leave the arena, there will only be 6 contestants left." After hearing what Lu Tong said, Shangguan Yen and Luo Mengchang looked at each other and nodded. The former said firmly, "I forfeit." "I forfeit too," Luo Mengchang continued. Wow. There was a commotion in the audience. They did not expect such an exciting match to end with both of them forfeiting. Of course, the beauty's choice was right regardless of whether it was reasonable or not. Shangguan Yen and Luo Mengshang both won overwhelming applause from the audience. If that's the case, then I announce that the first battle between Emperor Wu Luo Mengchang and Giant Elephant Shangguan Yen is a draw. Next, we'll directly enter the top 6 ranking battles. Lu Tong announced loudly. The top 8 became the top 6. This might not necessarily be a bad thing for the other contestants. Everyone knew the strength of Shangguan Yen and Luo Mengchang. This was equivalent to having 2 less strong competitors for the championship. Then I'll go back, Luo Mengchang said with a faint smile. Her eyes were curved and she looked very cute. Shangguan Yen nodded slightly and continued, if we meet again in the Heavenless tournament, I won't go easy on you. Me too. Luo Mengshang's bright eyes flashed with a hint of playfulness. She then retreated from the arena and returned to the spectator seats of the Imperial Martial Academy. Shangguan Yen also returned to the Giant Elephant Martial House's area. After the first battle ended, the atmosphere in the arena rose again. Tensei Prefecture's Xiao Yen had already stood up from his seat. It's my turn to go on stage. On the Bright Moon Academy's side, Long Xuanxuang was also ready. Let's not waste any more time. Let's welcome Heavenly Star Xiao Yen and Haoyue Long Xuanxuang, the 2 geniuses. Together with Lu Tong's especially impassioned voice, the fiery atmosphere continued to play out. Under the cheering gazes of the audience, Xiao Yen and Long Xuanxuang ascended the arena one after another. Senior brother Xiao Yen will win. If he wins this battle, he will enter the top 3. Xiao Yen will win. Heavenly Star is mighty. The students of Tensei Prefecture were abnormally lively. Xiao Yan's victory or defeat was very crucial. If he could win, Heavenly Star would occupy the top 3 of the Earth list. This was definitely a symbol of Heavenly Star's rise. Junior Sister Xuanxuang, I've heard a lot about you. Xiao Yen smiled gently. Long Xuanxuang nodded slightly, which counted as a greeting. Nice to meet you. I heard that Junior Sister Xuanxuang is Junior Brother Chu Hen's second sister. If he was here, he would probably be conflicted about who to support. Haha. Long Xuanxuang did not say much and replied concisely, Senior Brother Xiao Yen, please. After all, I entered the academy a year earlier than you. You should go first. Since that's the case, then forgive me for offending you. As the voice fell, a cold and overbearing ice-profound qi directly poured out from Long Xuanxuang's body. In an instant, the temperature of the entire arena suddenly dropped. With Long Xuanxuang as the center, layers of ice crystal snowflakes spread out on the arena. The audience was secretly shocked. The ice-profound qi that Long Xuanxuang mastered was much more overbearing than the frost curse seal. Swish, in the next instant, a cloud of white cold qi condensed into an ice arrow. The ice arrow shot out like a stream of light, dragging a powerful wave of air behind it as it headed straight for Xiao Yen. Xiao Yan's expression changed slightly when he felt the bone-piercing chill. After watching the competition for the past 2 days, he could confirm that Long Xuanxuang's cultivation was much stronger than her brother Long Qingyang's. Buzz! Xiao Yen condensed his palm and a thick red light wrapped around his right arm. He clenched his fist and punched out with a surging fist force. With a bang, the ice arrow was shattered in front of everyone. The shattered ice arrow blossomed into a scattered wave of air. When the wave of air landed on Xiao Yan's arm, it directly penetrated the defensive layer of True Yuan and directly penetrated his flesh. What a domineering cold qi! Xiao Yan was secretly shocked. He could not help but underestimate his opponent. Swoosh! At the same time, Long Xuanxuang had already seized the initiative. She gracefully flashed in his direction, and as she moved, a spiral-shaped white vortex quickly condensed in her fair hand. In the blink of an eye, a solid ice sword appeared in her palm. Long Xuanxuang's wrist danced lightly, and the ice sword that was surrounded by circles of white ripples stabbed directly at Xiao Yan. Junior sister Xuanxuang, good movement technique. I admire you. Xiao Yan smiled indifferently and waved his hand to send a blade of air slashing down. Then, he did a few backflips and retreated more than 10 meters away. The cold chi on his opponent's body was too overbearing. If he got too close, it would be like standing next to an iceberg, and he would be at a great disadvantage. Bang! The red blade of air and the white ice sword collided, and the space trembled slightly, stirring up a circle of residual air vortex. Before Xiao Yan could think of a way to deal with it, the aura released by Long Xuanxuang directly increased by several times. A white stream of air was released from Long Xuanxuang's body and spread toward Xiao Yan in front of her. The white stream of air extended along the ground, and wherever it went, the platform was frozen into ice. When it arrived in front of Xiao Yan, the stream of air rose like a stormy wave, and then separated from the middle, circling Xiao Yan from the left and right. In the instant that it attacked Xiao Yan, two masses of white cold chi directly condensed into sharp ice cones on the left and right, stabbing toward the opponent. Looking from a distance, it looked like a ferocious beast opened its huge mouth full of fangs to bite Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed and he retreated again. However, Long Xuanxuang's offensive was getting stronger and stronger. Ice cones that were like the fangs of a giant beast extended out, constantly chasing after Xiao Yan. Sharp ice sculptures appeared on the platform, and Xiao Yan was directly reduced to a state of dodging, unable to find any opportunity to counterattack. The high speed of the battle made the hearts of the audience hang in the air. Not only was Xiao Yan unable to breathe a sigh of relief, but even the audience held their breaths in their chest. This Long Xuanxuang is really powerful, a student from Tensei Prefecture said. Of course, don't you know whose sister she is? By the way, why isn't junior brother Chu Hen here yet? He should be here soon. In the blink of an eye, the entire platform had already been covered with more than a dozen ice sculptures emitting cold air. Each ice sculpture looked like a man-eating flower with its huge mouth open. Junior sister Xuanxuang, if you do this, it will consume a lot of true essence, Xiao Yan said in a somewhat relaxed manner. Although he was almost pierced by those ice cones several times, at least he had consumed a lot of true essence from Long Xuanxuang. However, there was no change in Long Xuanxuang's expression. She slowly raised her left hand, and her slender fingers instantly formed a seal. Her red lips slightly opened, and she coldly shouted, "Explode!" Boom! As his voice faded, under countless astonished gazes, all the ice sculptures on the stage directly shattered into pieces. More than a dozen ice sculptures around Xiao Yan exploded, and in an instant, a monstrous wave of cold air filled the entire arena. What was even more shocking was that after all the ice crystals shattered, they attacked Xiao Yan from all directions, up, down, left, and right from different angles. The thick white cold air seemed to want to freeze and crack the space. Looking at the magnificent scene in front of them, the crowd below the stage was shocked. It turned out that Long Xuanxuang had been preparing this attack from the beginning. The reason why she had continuously created so many ice sculptures without caring about the consumption of true essence was to surround Xiao Yan. The dense ice crystal fragments covered the sky and covered the earth as they surged towards Xiao Yan. As they moved, the ice crystal fragments condensed into sharp weapons. The strength of the attack was unstoppable. The range was so large that there was nowhere to hide. In the face of such a threatening attack, Xiao Yan's brows were filled with a strong sense of seriousness. Boom! Immediately after, a powerful red light erupted from his body like a torrent, and the scorching heat wave and the ice fragments wantonly blended together. Xiao Yan clenched his hands into fists, and a vigorous flame surged in his eyes. Chapter 219. Light of raging flames. Along with Xiao Yan's loud roar, a torrent-like red light erupted from his body. Xiao Yin clenched his hands into fists as restless flames surged in his eyes. In the next instant, a red halo, with Xiao Yin at the center, spread out in all directions like ripples on the surface of water. Rumble! The raging might swept away an army of 1,000 like a blanket. The sharp icicles that came from all directions collided with the condensed halo and were directly shattered into powder. Everyone in the audience was shocked. Under numerous shocked gazes, Xiao Yan's aura soared into the sky. Circles of red halo intertwined with each other and rapidly rotated. The stone tiles on the ground crumbled inch by inch as dense and deep cracks spread out like a spider web. Junior sister Xuan, be careful. I'm going to counterattack. A confident smile appeared on Xiao Yan's face. The airflow on the entire stage became abnormally chaotic as endless true yuan rapidly converged and blended together. Xiao Yin clasped his palms together. Immediately after, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, within a radius of a few hundred meters, surged into his body. Feeling the powerful energy fluctuations emitted from Xiao Yan's body, Long Xuan's beautiful eyes turned slightly cold. She gently raised her arms as the mysterious ice chi that was several times stronger than before gushed out of her body. In an instant, the huge battle stage was occupied by two powerful true yuan energies. One was a torrential red light. The other was a surging white cold air. At this moment, the hearts of the audience were hanging in their throats, especially those from the Heavenly Star Martial House and the Bright Moon Academy. At this critical juncture, who would be able to seize victory in this match? For the academies behind them, this was a particularly important game. Buzz buzz. A terrifying aura continuously gathered above Xiao Yan's head. Following which, he raised his arms above his head as a condensed beam of light followed his arms and pierced through the air. The red beam of light became increasingly powerful as circles of flowing light wrapped around the beam and rapidly rotated. Under everyone's horrified gazes, the red beam of light directly transformed into a giant blade. His domineering aura suppressed the entire area. Xiao Yan swung his arms downwards, and the terrifying gigantic saber slashed towards Long Xuan with a force that could split a mountain. Furious flame, cut! The raging power pressed down like a mountain, and a mighty destructive aura surged over. Long Xuan's peerlessly beautiful face revealed a serious expression. At the same time, her ice xian qi was released like a cold current. Screech, along with a resounding phoenix cry, a huge ice phoenix phantom soared into the sky from the boundless profound ice chi. The ice phoenix exuded a powerful aura that seemed to look down on all things, giving off the feeling that it was a living creature. The wings flapped, causing the space to tremble, and a bone-chilling cold rushed towards the audience in all directions. Countless people felt a strong sense of oppression. Ice Soul, Ice Phoenix dance. Ice Soul, Ice Phoenix dance. At that moment, everyone couldn't help but recall the move that Qing Yang had used against Shen Yunxi a few days ago. Bone Flame, Dance of the Flaming Dragon had also shocked everyone. But in comparison, the power that Long Xuan had released was clearly much stronger than Long Qingyang's. Soon after, under the astonished gazes of the audience, the giant red blade and the ice phoenix phantom clashed head-on. Boom! The deafening noise was like a clap of thunder, causing everyone's eardrums to hurt. These two frightening forces were comparable to two mountains that traversed the sky colliding with each other. Incomparably violent energy shockwaves wantonly blended and spread out. The sky turned dark and the ground turned dark. A violent gale suddenly rose. The powerful shockwaves caused countless deep cracks and ravines to appear on the surface of the stage, accompanied by a heavy and violent sound. The giant blade image and the ice phoenix image exploded in the air above the arena, and chaotic energy splashed in all directions. A huge red and white cyclone rushed into the sky. Everyone from the Heavenly Star Martial House and the Bright Moon Academy stood up from their seat. Each and every one of them frowned with a dignified look on their faces. Even Principal Jiang of the Heavenly Star Academy and Principal Wei of the Haoyue Academy were moved at this moment. The restless air was mixed with a chilly chill as it filled the air. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the two young figures on the stage. Xiao Yan's entire body was surrounded by a red glow, and Long Xuanxuang was surging with ice xian qi. The power that the two had displayed made the contestants behind them take it seriously. However, just as the audience thought that the two were about to enter the decisive moment, the aura that Xiao Yan was emitting suddenly disappeared. Haha, junior sister Xuanxuang, if we continue to fight like this, we might get hurt. Your junior brother Chu Hen's sister, and I'm his senior brother. It won't be good for either of us to hurt the other. Why don't we stop this match and end it in a draw? Another draw? Wow! The entire arena was in an uproar. 2 draws in a row was not what the audience wanted to see. However, Long Xuanxuang was a smart woman. She naturally understood that Xiao Yan's choice was not to show weakness to her. Last year, Xiao Yan first chopped off one of Huang Wu Tongfei's arms, and then dragged his seriously injured body to fight with Xin Yunxi. It could be said that Xiao Yan was very intimidating when he was ruthless. It ended in a draw. Xiao Yan also preserved each other's dignity, as well as the faces of the 2 great academies, Heavenly Star and Bright Moon. Long Xuanxuang did not hesitate too much. She nodded slightly and replied softly, "As you said, this match is a draw." In the end, it ended in a draw. The audience let out a long sigh. First, it was Shangguan Yan and Luo Mengshang, and now it was Xiao Yan and Long Xuanxuang. In other words, there were only 4 contestants left in the ranking battle of the Earth list. This also meant that today's battle for the quarterfinals had directly evolved into a quarterfinals battle for the quarterfinals. Plans really could not keep up with the changes, and the competition schedule was directly shortened by half. Lu Tong, who was specially set up in the north, let out a long sigh of relief. Then, he raised his arms and announced in a clear voice, "In this arena, every contestant has the right to choose. I announce that Heavenly Star Xiao Yan and Bright Moon Long Xuanxuang, it is a draw. A draw." Although there were too many people who felt that it was a pity, the audience still applauded incessantly. Seeing that the 2 contestants had left the arena, Lu Tong continued to control the atmosphere in the arena. "Alright. Actually, I did not expect this either. Next, the Earth List Battle of the Academy Tournament will directly enter the semi-finals. Then, among the remaining 4 contestants, who will be able to enter the finals and become the champion of the Earth List. Let us wait and see. First, let us invite the 2 most popular contestants, Wei Qingfan of Imperial Style and Qin Lu of Leiting, onto the arena." Rumble. The atmosphere that was still slightly silent just now was like a volcano that had erupted in an instant. The entire arena erupted in cheers. "Wei Qingfan, Wei Qingfan! Wei Qingfan, champion!" Without a doubt, Wei Qingfan was currently the most popular candidate to become the champion. Even Yao Zhan was slightly inferior to him. As for Qin Lu of Leiting Martial House, he was a tall and stocky young man. Apart from Tensei Prefecture, Qin Lu was the only contestant from an ordinary high-ranked martial house to enter the semi-finals. Although his appearance was extremely imposing, standing in front of Wei Qingfan, he was still much weaker. "Heh, do you want to get off the arena yourself, or do you want me to help you?" Wei Qingfan crossed his arms in front of him, a mocking smile hanging on his lips. Qin Lu clenched his fists, a cold light surging in his eyes. "Humph, Wei Qingfan, don't be too arrogant." "Haha, then it seems that you have chosen the latter." Wei Qingfan's face flashed with a ruthless coldness. The first round of the semi-finals will now begin. Tensei Prefecture. The warm and beautiful sunlight shone through the branches of the red maple tree, illuminating the body of the young youth. An entire day had already passed. The other party was still quietly sitting in his original position, like a boulder. A light breeze blew a red leaf. Not far away, a beautiful girl with long purple hair, under the illumination of the sunlight, was like a fairy that had fallen into the mortal world. For the entire day, Shilan had not left this place, not even by a single step. That absolutely beautiful face was somewhat weak and pale. Strange, he should have woken up long ago. Shilan's red lips moved slightly, muttering to herself. At this moment, there was a slight tremor in the air. Following this, the power of the wave of air became increasingly strong, the space faintly trembled, and a huge wave of aura spread out like a wave. Shilan's beautiful eyes lifted slightly, a trace of ripple appearing in her soft as water eyes. Immediately, the eyes of the youth, who had been silent for the entire day, opened. A fierce light shot out from his eyes, and a completely different temperament was revealed. Buzz buzz. Rings of dust and leaves were startled by Chu Hen's side. He let out a long sigh of relief, and the aura he emitted quickly retracted. His handsome face faintly raised into a faint arc. Mentor, Shilan smiled slightly. Mentor, what's wrong? Chu Hen got up, but saw that the other party's face was very pale. Who knew that the celestial sacred heart technique would cause the user to enter a period of weakness, and Shilan had been guarding Chu Hen here for the entire day, and was tired and weak. I'm fine, hurry to the competition area. I'll help you back to rest first, Chu Hen said resolutely. It's too late. Shilan shook her head. Now that 2 matches had probably ended, Chu Hen had to rush to the competition area as soon as possible. But seeing that Chu Hen was not at ease, Shilan hesitated for a moment, then said, I'll go with you to the competition area. But your body? It's fine. I'll recover very soon. Subsequently, Chu Hen and Shilan left the courtyard of Tensei Prefecture one after another. The warm sunlight shone on his face, and Chu Hen's face was faintly transparent. He looked up at the azure blue sky, a pair of pitch-black eyes as bright as the stars. Wei Qingfan, I Chu Hen, am here. Chapter 220. Wei Qingfan will definitely win. Wei Qingfan will definitely win. In the competition zone for the Earth List tournament, the atmosphere in the arena was filled with all sorts of earth-shattering excitement. On the arena, Wei Qingfan of Imperial Wind and Lei Tang's Qin Lu were fighting for the top 4 position. Wei Qingfan had completely dominated his opponent, gaining the upper hand. Qin Lu had been clenching his teeth the entire time, doing his utmost to defend. As the most popular candidate to win this year's Earth List, Wei Qingfan's popularity was extremely high. Amidst the stormy atmosphere, the instructors and students of the Heavenly Star Martial House appeared somewhat anxious and uneasy at this moment. What's going on? Why isn't Chu Hen here yet? That's right. The 3rd match is about to end. Could it be that he's not coming? It shouldn't be. Teacher Shilan has never had any problems before. Other than the Tensei Prefecture's side, people like Yu Chenyu, Long Xuanxuang, and Yi Yao were also constantly paying attention to the situation over here. The delayed appearance of Chu Hen inevitably caused some confusion to rise in their hearts. Death Wheel of the Sun. Boom! At this moment, a berserk energy fluctuation blossomed and exploded on the arena. The endless golden light was like the brilliance of the sun as a vast and mighty frightening aura swept out. Under the attack of the flood-like energy, a miserable figure spat out a mouthful of blood as he was blasted off the stage. Boom! In an instant, the already noisy atmosphere in the competition area was ignited once again. Countless people in the audience stood up and applauded. Wei Qingfan, champion. Congratulations to senior brother Wei Qingfan for entering the top 2. Wei Qingfan, mighty. An earth-shattering applause resounded throughout the competition grounds. No one took another glance at Qin Lu, who was lying below the stage and covered in blood. Everyone's attention was completely focused on Wei Qingfan's body. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, he was as dazzling as a resplendent star in the night sky. Haha, looks like our king of popularity did not disappoint everyone. Lu Tong raised both his arms as he announced, "Congratulations to Emperor Wind Wei Qinfan for being the first to enter the top 2. The applause was thunderous, and even the ground of the competition zone was faintly shaking. In the imperial-style spectator seats, Yi Yu looked at Wei Qinfan, who was like a moon surrounded by stars. A faint gentleness gushed out from her eyes. The displeasure and gloom that had been shrouding her heart for the past 2 days had also gradually dissipated. No matter what, Wei Qinfan was indeed an extremely outstanding person. No matter if it was strength or family background, it wasn't something that person could compare to. However, today's 3 battles had ended, and that person still hadn't appeared. When she recalled the vicious words Yao Zhan had said yesterday, that he would definitely defeat Chu Hen within 10 moves. This caused Yi Yu to wonder if that person was afraid and didn't dare to come. If that was the case, then he really couldn't be compared to Wei Qinfan at all. On the arena, the corners of Wei Qingfan's mouth curled up, and a wisp of a frivolous and indifferent arc appeared on his face. Then, his gaze swept towards Yao Zhan in the Imperial Martial Academy spectator seats, not concealing the provocation and frivolity in his eyes. Yao Zhan replied with a cold smile, then stood up from his seat. "It's my turn, then. Next will be the final battle of the day. I would like to invite the 2 geniuses, Imperial Martial Academy Yao Zhan and Heavenly Star Chu Hen, onto the arena." Along with Lu Tong's words, the cheers and thunderous applause once again stacked upon each other. Yao Zhan had a playful smile on his face as he walked onto the arena. At the same time, Wei Qinfan just happened to come down, and the 2 couldn't help but brush past each other. A cold gust of wind blew. "Perform well, don't disappoint me, hee." Wei Qinfan indifferently sneered. "Heh!" Yao Zhan's eyes narrowed, and he replied with a frivolous playful smile, "Just you wait, after I kill him, it'll be your turn." "Interesting, I'm just afraid you'll die prematurely." "Humph, just wait and see." Then, one of the 2 returned to the arena, while the other returned to the spectator seat. "Senior brother Qinfan is amazing, haha, the champion of the Earth list is in the bag." "That's right, that Yao Zhan is nothing in front of senior brother Qinfan." The surrounding people all came forward to flatter him. Wei Qinfan raised his brows slightly, then looked at Yi Yu, who was sitting beside him, and asked, "Are you feeling better?" Yi Yu smiled, indicating that she was fine. "Don't worry, that trash won't be able to get past Yao Zhan," Wei Qinfan said disdainfully. Yi Yu didn't say anything, but a trace of coldness flowed out from her eyes. Yi Yao couldn't help but frown. Hearing Wei Qinfan call Chu Hen trash made her really unhappy. If it wasn't for the fact that Yi Yu was in a bad mood, Yi Yao would definitely have scolded him back. However, almost 20 seconds passed, and there was still only Yao Zhan on the arena. "What's going on? Where's Chu Hen?" Everyone's gaze swept towards the area where the Tensei Prefecture was located. They saw that the faces of the Heavenly Star Academy's students and mentors were also filled with confusion. Everyone in the room looked at each other in dismay. Then, all kinds of low and deep voices of discussion rose continuously. "Don't tell me he doesn't dare to come. Who knows? Could it be that he was scared by Yao Zhan's fierce words yesterday? That's too cowardly. I really wonder how he won against Shin Yunshi." The spectator seats in the competition area became more and more chaotic. Shin Yunshi, who was in the Consonance Martial House's area, frowned, and his pale face, which had yet to recover from his serious injuries, was faintly surging with some complicated emotions. Bright Moon Academy's Long Xuanxuang, Giant Elephant Martial House's Yu Chenyu, and a few others were all confused. According to Chu Hen's character, it was impossible for him to miss such a crucial match. "It's fine if he forfeits. That monster Yao Zhan is too disgusting," Yu Chenyu muttered to herself. "Where is contestant Chu Hen?" The host judge, Lu Tong, asked loudly. No one answered. Tensei Prefecture's principal Jiang, Song Chenglai, and the others were all anxious. If they had known earlier, they would have sent someone back to the academy to take a look. At least they wouldn't be in such a state where they couldn't go up or down. Lu Tong frowned slightly and then said, "If contestant Chu Hen still doesn't come up on stage, it will be counted as a forfeit." "Damn, what's going on? That's too weak. Don't wait anymore. I strongly request that he be disqualified. Senior brother Yao Zhan will win. Congratulations to senior brother Yao Zhan for entering the top 2. He clearly doesn't have the guts." Announce the results of the match. The audience once again set off a clamor of noise, and all sorts of curses and insults could be heard. Yao Zhan stood on the stage, the corners of his mouth curling into a casual and playful smile. Strange. Imperial Martial Academy's Arya, Luo Mengshang, who was sitting beside Red Lotus, pursed her lips, and her beautiful eyes were also filled with a hint of confusion. The curses from below the stage were unceasing, and they were getting more and more unpleasant. Imperial Styles Wei Qingfan laughed, and his laughter was especially sarcastic. "I think I overestimated him. Turns out he's not only a piece of trash, but also a coward." "Shut up. You're not allowed to scold Big Brother Chu Hen." Yi Yao was a little angry, and she angrily glared and scolded. "Little Yao," Yi Yu shouted coldly. "Sister, the facts are in front of us, there's nothing to argue about," Yi Yu said indifferently. In the blink of an eye, nearly 30 seconds had passed. There was no one coming in from the entrances of the various entrances. "Don't waste any more time. Manager Lu Tong, you can announce the result." "That's right, disqualify that coward." The audience was indignant. Even when Shen Yunxi forfeited yesterday, no one was this dissatisfied. Yao Zhan gently raised his arms, and his expression was full of pride, as if he was announcing his victory. Lu Tong turned around and exchanged glances with the 5 deans, then nodded his head, and his vigorous and loud voice echoed throughout the large competition area. "Time's up. According to the rules of the competition, anyone who misses the match will be treated as forfeiting." Lu Tong paused, then continued, "I hereby announce that the winner of this match is Buzz." However, before Lu Tong could finish his sentence, a piercingly cold gust of air suddenly assaulted them. The sand and dust on the ground were stirred up, and a red maple leaf that appeared out of nowhere quietly floated down from the stage. Countless people present could clearly feel an indescribable pressure. Swoosh, then, a hurried sound of something breaking through the wind was transmitted to everyone's ears. Everyone's eyes widened, and their hearts trembled, only to see a blurry shadow pass by. Chapter 221. Buzz, a powerful gust of wind swept across the arena. Looking at the young figure that had suddenly appeared on the arena, everyone could not help but be shocked. In an instant, the clamor of cursing stopped abruptly. The eyes of Long Xuanxuang, Yu Chenyu, Yi Yao, and the crowd from Tensei Prefecture lit up. Wei Qingfan, Yi Yu, Shen Yunxi, and the rest of the people from Tensei Prefecture were stunned. Although it had only been a day, everyone could feel that the aura emitted by the young figure was different from before. As for what was different, no one could tell. Subsequently, under the different gazes of the crowd, the young figure slowly raised his head. His firm and handsome face looked as if it was carved by a carving knife. His deep gaze fell directly on Yao Zhan, who was standing in front of him. "Are you the one who said you would defeat me in 10 moves?" His indifferent voice was as calm as the water in a well, without the slightest change in his emotions. A cold smile appeared on Yao Zhan's face. "In the end, you still came. I thought you were going to be a coward." A bleak cold wind blew past. Some of the people who had not recovered from their shock subconsciously shrank their neck. At this time, Lu Tong felt that he could not interrupt, so he did not say anything. Like the others, he temporarily became a spectator. "You can make your move now," Chu Hen said indifferently. "Arrogant. Silent arrogance." A guy at the 9th level of the element opening stage dared to ask a 3rd level core transformation stage expert to make the first move? This was the first time such a thing had happened in the All-Academy martial competition. The crowd, who had recovered from their shock, snorted disdainfully at Chu Hen. So what if he makes it here? How can he be a match for senior brother Yao Zhan? Senior brother Yao Zhan will definitely win. Not to mention 10 moves, even 5 moves will be enough to take his life. Yao Zhan sneered as an eerie aura surged out. Hee, as you wish. Boom! In the next instant, a tremendous power erupted from Yao Zhan's body. The surging blood-red light was like a torrent that surged toward Chu Hen. The blood-red glow was divided into 2, like a waterfall that had split into 2. It circled around Chu Hen's back from the left and the right, surrounding Chu Hen from all directions, blocking all of Chu Hen's escape routes. A chilly gale blew furiously, causing sand and stones to fly around the arena. The airflow in every inch of the arena became extremely chaotic. The blood-red light filled the air around Chu Hen, forming an encirclement. A steady stream of true essence surged towards Chu Hen. It seemed that Chu Hen was like a small boat in a storm, in danger of being swallowed up by the waves at any time. Hey, what's up? You don't dare to move anymore? Yao Zhan laughed sinisterly. Surrounded by the endless red light, Chu Hen's expression didn't change. He didn't show the slightest bit of fear. Whoosh, the swift and fierce demon slayer's spear appeared in his hand, and a piercingly cold aura rose from his body. However, Yao Zhan didn't seem to plan on giving Chu Hen any strength to struggle. The boundless aura that overflowed the heavens once again completely exploded. Along with the dense and cold air current, a blood-marked python that was as thick as a water tank suddenly rushed out from the endless blood-red haze. Oh my God! Looking at the ferocious blood-red python, everyone in the arena revealed a look of horror. This was the first time that Yao Zhan had displayed such a terrifying power. Could it be that he planned to kill Chu Hen in one move? The blood-red python soared into the sky, exuding a frightening and vicious aura of a fierce beast. Long Xuan, Yu Qingyu, Li Hui, He Qingyuan, and the others all had solemn expressions, showing a little worry. Yi Yao's small hands tightly grasped the corner of her clothes. She gritted her teeth and her heart was in her throat. Hey, let's end it in one move. Yao Zhan smiled sinisterly, his cold pupils faintly vertical. Boom! In the next instant, the blood-red python with a terrifying aura directly pounced toward Chu Hen with a violent aura that could topple mountains and overturn seas. The ferocious attack stirred up the airflow in all directions. The furious pressure was as if a mountain was pressing down, and all of it rushed towards Chu Hen. Everyone present was extremely shocked. Not to mention Chu Hen, who was only at the 9th level of the element opening stage. Even an expert at the 3rd level of the core transformation stage would not be able to escape the fate of being heavily injured or even killed by Yao Zhan's attack. The crowd couldn't figure out how Chu Hen was able to block this destructive power. They couldn't figure out why Chu Hen was still able to stand there with a calm expression. Rumble! However, it was also at this moment that a heavy thunderous sound exploded in everyone's ears. Immediately after, a vast and raging aura directly rushed out from Chu Hen's body. This? The crowd was startled. Anyone could clearly feel that Chu Hen's aura actually surpassed the 9th level of the element opening stage. He broke through to the core transformation stage. How is this possible? Isn't this too fast? Before the crowd could recover from their bewilderment, Chu Hen's aura continuously increased, and surging true origin energy surged out from his body. Immediately after, under the astonished gazes of the crowd, a hazy white figure that was 50 to 60 meters tall suddenly appeared behind Chu Hen. The silhouette of the figure was similar to that of a human, but there was a pair of bat wings on the back of the figure. Endless violent and murderous aura was emitted from the figure. It gave off the feeling that it was like a devil's shadow. This move again? The move that defeated Shen Yunxi. The crowd that had witnessed the battle between Chu Hen and Shen Yunxi could not help but exclaim in surprise. Shin Yunshi furrowed his brows and clenched his fists. Yu Qinyu, who had seen this move before, was so shocked that her small mouth opened slightly. Her face was filled with astonishment. She remembered that when Chu Hen used this move, the devil's shadow was only in its 20s. Now, the devil's shadow that appeared in front of them had directly increased by 2 to 3 times. Buzz, buzz. Circles of white light gathered in the devil's right hand in a spiral manner and instantly transformed into a giant spear that was taller than the devil's body. The space trembled, and the peerlessly domineering aura shook all directions. Immediately after, Chu Hen directly raised the demon-punishing spear in his hand and sent it out. The devil's shadow behind him also brandished the giant spear and directly attacked the giant blood-patterned python that was flying in front of him. Demon-punishing spear. Boom! In an instant, two incomparably violent and terrifying forces fiercely collided with each other. The spear's shadow and the blood python collided head-on, and the entire battle stage directly fell into an incomparably chaotic turmoil. The surging waves of power were comparable to the eruption of 2 mountain torrents, and the vigorous energy waves swept in all directions. The sky turned dark and the space trembled. Crisscrossing cracks rapidly spread on the stage surface, and the gravel shattered inch by inch, dancing in the air, and then was shattered into pieces by the domineering energy waves. Everyone's eyes were filled with deep astonishment. Damn! 3rd level of the core transformation realm. A trembling voice came from the spectator stands. Boom! It was as if a thunderbolt had exploded in everyone's ears. The shocking energy that Chu Hen emitted had clearly reached the level of the 3rd level of the core transformation realm. Wei Qingfan, Shin Yunshi, Xiao Yan, Bai Yue, Long Xuanshuang, Shangguan Yan, Luo Mingshang, and many other geniuses all turned pale with fright. Their faces were filled with deep disbelief. It was obvious that when he fought with Yi Yu the day before yesterday, Chu Hen was only at the 9th level of the element opening realm. How long had it been? He had directly soared to the 3rd level of the core transformation realm. What kind of miraculous elixir would have such an effect on him to jump 3 levels in a row? The most shocking thing was that Chu Hen's true origin energy was very solid, and it did not seem like it was formed by the accumulation of elixirs at all. Could it be that he had been hiding his strength all this time? All kinds of speculations appeared in everyone's minds. Only the people from Tensei Prefecture could not help but turn their attention to Shilan, who was standing at the entrance of the competition area. Since yesterday, Chu Hen and Shilan had been together, which meant that Chu Hen's continuous jump of 3 levels was most likely related to Shilan. Shock. Apart from shock, there was more shock. Boom! Immediately after, accompanied by a deafening explosion, the long spear in the hands of the tyrannical demonic figure behind Chu Hen tilted downwards. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people that were filled with shock, the unstoppable sharp spear image forcibly shattered the blood-striped python. What? Waves of red qi wantonly spread out, causing the audience to turn pale with fright. Yao Zhan's face also revealed an unprecedented look of fear and shock. Bang! The incomparably domineering spear shadow penetrated the overlapping waves of red true origin energy like a hot knife through butter, and then hit Yao Zhan's body solidly. The powerful lethality surged, and Yao Zhan felt as if he had been hit by a mountain. His chest suddenly caved in, and a large mouthful of blood spurted from his mouth. Under countless incredulous gazes, Yao Zhan was directly sent flying off the stage. He drew a long parabola in the air, and then heavily smashed to the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Silence. Unprecedented silence. The huge competition area and the dense crowd fell into a deathly silence. Everyone's expression was almost the same at this moment, dumbfounded, and their eyes wide open. No one dared to believe the scene in front of them was real. However, Yao Zhan, who had fallen off the stage, covered in blood, and his aura was extremely weak, was a piercing pain to the eyes of countless people. Just yesterday, Yao Zhan had said that he would definitely defeat Chu Hen in 10 moves. Just a moment ago, Chu Hen had only used a single move to defeat Yao Zhan so miserably that he was unable to fight back. At this moment, even the 5 deans in the northern spectator stands were shocked. Looking at the young man standing on the stage, holding a spear in his hand, everyone felt that it was especially inconceivable. Imperial Marshal Dean Guan Du's eyes narrowed, and his throat moved slightly as he spat out in a deep voice. Chapter 222. Demon Punisher Spear, Demon Spear. Fang Bufan, Dean Guan Du of the Imperial Martial Academy uttered a clear and heavy sentence. His voice wasn't loud, but it was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. In an instant, it was as if a deafening clap of thunder had exploded in everyone's ears. The crowd, who were already extremely shocked, widened their eyes at this moment. Their faces were filled with intense shock and disbelief. What? Demon Spear Fang Bufan? Countless pairs of eyes uniformly converged on the cold spear on Chu Hen's back. On the dark red spear body there were pure black flower patterns. Strands of demonic black light filled the entire spear, and the sharp aura it exuded was completely displayed. The deans of the various martial houses were the first to react. That really is Fang Bufan's Demon Punisher Spear. The dean of the giant elephant martial house could not help but stand up from his seat. After 2 deans confirmed it, a commotion broke out in the entire competition area. Not many people present didn't know the name Demon Spear Fang Bufan. He was one of the 3 great spear kings of the 100 Nations continent. His Demon Punisher Spear had defeated countless powerhouses and given him the name Demon Spear. Didn't Fang Bufan go missing a few years ago? He didn't go missing. He's dead. What? Fang Bufan is dead? How do you know? I only heard about it by chance, and this news came from the royal family, so it's absolutely true. It can't be wrong. It's said that Fang Bufan died in an underground palace in the Boneless Mountain Range. He died together with the bloodthirsty razorback dragon. If that's the case, why is the Demon Punisher Spear in Chu Hen's hands? I'm not too sure. The news from the imperial family didn't explain anything else. In fact, many people with high statuses, including the deans of the various martial houses, had heard the news about the demon spear Fang Bufan's death a few months ago. After all, Chu Hen wasn't the only one who had entered the bloodthirsty razorback dragon's nest. There was also Xia Qing. Previously, when Xia Qing led the royal family's dark force to chase after the thief-rat thief god, in the Sky Lake mountain range to retrieve the Sacred Star Heavenly Book, Chu Hen had already confirmed that Xia Qing was a member of the royal family. Therefore, it was not surprising that news about Fang Bufan had spread out from the imperial family. This news was not widely spread among the public. It was most likely the royal family's intention to remind those in the know not to spread this news excessively, in order to prevent other troubles from arising. As for the fact that Fang Bufan's legacy had fallen into Chu Hen's hands, Xia Qing believed that she hadn't told anyone. At this moment, everyone's gazes towards Chu Hen were filled with bewilderment. A person who had disappeared for 7 or 8 years, the impression in everyone's mind was about to fade. But now, the soul-petrifying devil slaughterer spear had reappeared in the world, and it shocked everyone present. Instantly, everyone recalled the name of the demonic spear of this generation, Fang Bufan. Amidst the strange atmosphere, Chu Hen slowly walked towards Yao Zhan, who had fallen off the stage. When he reached the edge of the stage, Chu Hen looked down at Yao Zhan and said calmly, "The ruthless words I uttered yesterday have become a joke today. One move, no need to thank me." Whoosh! In an instant, everyone's attention was drawn back to the Earth List battle. Soon after, the cheers of the Heavenly Star Martial House soared to the heavens. Haha, senior brother Chu Hen is so cool. Chu Hen will definitely win. Congratulations to junior brother Chu Hen for making it into the top 2. Everyone from the Heavenly Star Martial House was extremely excited. The second ranker of the Earth Board. At this moment, even Principal Zhang's expression couldn't help but change. His slightly turbid eyes were filled with light. Immediately after, the giant elephant Martial House and the Bright Moon Academy also applauded enthusiastically. In the end, the cheers grew louder and louder, filling the entire arena with earth-shattering cheers. The heavily injured Yao Zhan covered his bleeding chest with one hand. His face alternated between red and white, and it was as ugly as one could imagine. Just as Chu Hen had said, the ruthless words he uttered yesterday had become a joke today. Yao Zhan had suffered an abnormally tragic defeat. Many of the geniuses in the arena had different emotions. Long Xuanxuang was happy for Chu Hen, but she was even more confused. Yu Qinyu's beautiful eyes were also filled with confusion. When they separated the night before yesterday, Chu Hen's cultivation level was lower than hers. It had only been a short time since they last saw each other, but he had crossed 3 levels. It was really frightening. In the Imperial Martial Academy's seating area, the cold and elegant core teacher Hong Lian narrowed her eyes and looked at Xilan, who was at the entrance of the competition area. "Humph, I really didn't expect that there would be a second person in this world besides your younger brother that you would use the Celestial Sacred Heart technique." Hong Lian muttered to herself. Celestial Sacred Heart technique? What's that? Big sister Hong Lian. Luo Mingshang asked curiously. It's a secret technique that sacrifices oneself to help others. The target can obtain great power in an extremely short period of time, and there won't be any side effect. Wow, there's such a good secret technique? Humph! Hong Lian sneered frivolously. But the user will fall into a period of weakness in the next few months. It could even affect one's own cultivation. When the Celestial Sacred Heart technique is cultivated to the highest level, it can bring someone back from the dead. However, the user will have to pay the price with their life. After saying that, Red Lotus looked at Xilan mockingly again. She thought to herself, what a stupid woman. Using that technique for someone who has nothing to do with you. But this is also good. If you use it a few more times, I won't have to kill you. The atmosphere of the arena continued to rise. Chu Hen stood proudly on the arena, showing off the sharpness of a youth. Top 2? Shouldn't it be the top 4? However, Chu Hen quickly came to a realization. Perhaps, before he rushed over, the first 2 matches should have ended in a draw. So 4 people were directly eliminated. Then who was the other person's opponent? Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. He already had an answer in his heart. Cough, cough. Lu Tong coughed twice, raised his hand slightly, and said in a clear voice, "First of all, congratulations to Heavenly Star's Chu Hen for entering the top 2 of the Earth list. Tomorrow morning, he will fight against Di Feng's Wei Qingfan for this year's Earth List Championship." Championship battle. The tone of these 4 words was especially high. The atmosphere of the entire competition area was instantly ignited. Rumble. Chu Hen victory. Wei Qingfan champion. Everyone was looking forward to tomorrow's battle. No one would have thought that a strong dark horse like Chu Hen would appear in this year's inter-school martial meet. Shen Yunxi was eliminated, Shangguan Yen was eliminated, Luo Mengchang was eliminated, and even Yao Zhan was defeated. If Wei Qingfan's advancement to the championship battle was expected, then Chu Hen's advancement was out of everyone's expectations. However, at this moment, Chu Hen actually did something that no one expected. He raised the Demon Punisher spear in his hand and stood proudly on the arena. The sharp tip of the spear was pointed at Wei Qingfan, who was in the audience of Tifeng Province. His voice was like thunder, every word heavy. Chapter 223. Why wait until tomorrow? Isn't today's battle better? Wei Qingfan, get your ass down here. His deep voice was like a clap of thunder, and every word was as cold as an icicle. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, Chu Hen raised the Demon Punisher spear in his hand. His entire body emitted a piercingly cold domineering aura, and the sharp tip of the spear was pointed at Wei Qingfan, who was sitting in the spectator seats of Tifeng Province. The thick provocation was not concealed in the slightest. Wow! In an instant, everyone present was stunned. Everyone had a look of surprise on their faces. Many of the people present had heard that there was an irreconcilable conflict between Chu Hen and Wei Qingfan. It seemed that this was indeed the case. For a martial artist, pointing a spear at someone was a great provocation. Under the sunlight, the demon Punisher's spear flickered with a dazzling cold light. Everyone's gazes converged on Wei Qingfan's body. The latter's expression was abnormally calm, while a lazy smile hung from the corners of his mouth. However, his eyes were surging with an incomparably cold chill. Yi Yu, who was sitting next to Wei Qingfan, looked at the scene in front of her with a complicated expression. Her face was filled with confusion. To be honest, Yi Yu had yet to recover from the shock of Chu Hen defeating Yao Zhan with a single spear strike. At this moment, Chu Hen was already pointing the spear in his hand at Wei Qingfan. The series of events that had happened in the past few days made Yi Yu feel that it was a little unreal. This was because the Chu Hen that she knew in the past could not possibly stand proudly on the arena and look down on everyone like this. However, this was an indisputable fact. He's too arrogant. Senior brother Qingfan, continue to oppress him. We'll support you. Senior brother Wei Qingfan will definitely win. The champion will definitely be yours. He's simply too arrogant. He thinks that he's invincible just because he picked up the demon spear Fang Bufan's demon Punisher spear. Senior brother Qingfan, kill him and let him know who the true champion of the Earth list is. Chu Hen's provocation had obviously angered many of Wei Qingfan's supporters. The already strange atmosphere in the competition area became even more chaotic and noisy. However, it was undeniable that everyone present couldn't wait for tomorrow. Everyone eagerly hoped to see this stormy showdown. Seeing that Wei Qingfan did not answer, Chu Hen's palm condensed, and a 3-foot spear light shot out along the spear's tip. The cold and heavy voice reverberated through the arena once more. Get down here. Roll down. At this moment, the killing intent that had been brewing in Wei Qingfan's heart suddenly erupted. He suddenly stood up from his seat, and his ice-cold eyes emitted a thick chill. Humph, since a piece of trash like you is so eager to die, how can I not fulfill your wish? As soon as he finished speaking, Wei Qingfan leaped into the air, traversing dozens of meters across the spectator stands before landing firmly on the stage. Hua! Wei Qingfan's acceptance of the challenge instantly ignited the fiery atmosphere of the audience. Tifeng Province and many of Wei Qingfan's supporters stood up and shouted, Wei Qingfan, kill that arrogant bastard. The championship belongs to you alone. On the Tensei Prefecture's side, they were also not to be outdone, especially Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the others, who all shouted at the top of their lungs. Chu Hen will win. Chu Hen, you can do it. Chu Hen, this handsome Feng specially rushed here from Myriad Flower House. Don't embarrass me. Senior brother Mu Feng, you finally appeared. He, this martial Feng calculated with his fingers and knew that there would be a big show today. Therefore, I came. Mu Feng returned to the Heavenly Star Martial House's seating area and grinned like a thief. Zhou Lu pointed at him and scolded, Don't be a coward. If you agree to bet, you must accept your loss. You still want to lick the soles of my shoes. F***ck, can this kind of thing wait? Wait for Chu Hen to finish torturing that shameless bastard. The momentum from both sides pushed the atmosphere of the competition zone to an unprecedented climax. The presiding judge, Lu Tong, could not control the situation at that moment. He waved his hand a few times, but no one paid attention to him. Forget it, let's just do it. Lu Tong shook his head helplessly. He did not bother asking the 5 deans at the back and shouted, I hereby announce that the battle for the champion of the all-school martial arts tournament begins. Begin. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, a towering flame burst out from Wei Qingfan's body. He waved his hand, and 2 golden light blades flew out one after another, slashing toward Chu Hen in front of him. The crowd was shocked. They did not expect Wei Qingfan to attack so quickly. The speed of the light blades was as fast as a flying shuttle of light. Humph! Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. He raised his spear, and the tip of the spear, which was engulfed in black light, collided with the 2 light blades. Bang, bang, 2 consecutive heavy sounds were heard, and 2 balls of air dispersed in the air. Chu Hen stood firmly on the spot and did not move half a step back. After launching 2 attacks, Wei Qingfan did not continue to attack Chu Hen. Buzz, a majestic aura surged out from Wei Qingfan's body, and wisps of golden light quickly gathered in his palm. The sharp light was extremely dazzling. In just a few blinks of an eye, a golden machete appeared in Wei Qingfan's palm. The machete was in the shape of a crescent moon, and it was about half a meter long. The sharp blade exuded an extremely dangerous aura. Looking at the close-range weapon that Wei Qingfan had summoned, the crowd was stunned at first, but they soon understood his intention. He wanted to use close-range combat to restrain Chu Hen's Demon Slayer spear. Although the longer it was, the stronger it was in terms of flexibility, the spear did not have much of an advantage. Humph, bastard! In my eyes, your spear technique is full of loopholes. Today, let's see how I break your spear in a few moves. Wei Qingfan was full of confidence, and he did not take Chu Hen seriously at all. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. With a flash of white light, the Demon Slayer spear in Chu Hen's hand was suddenly kept into his storage ring. What was going on? Everyone present was astounded. Heh, are you planning to lay down your arms and surrender? Wei Qingfan sneered. Why do I need to use my best weapon to deal with you? Chu Hen replied with frivolous disdain. Buzz, in the next moment, a crisp metallic sound was transmitted to everyone's ears. Under the crowd's shocked gaze, a black saber replaced the Demon Slayer spear and appeared in Chu Hen's hand. It was an upright saber that looked like a long sword. The saber was 3 feet long, and it had a silver edge. There were 9 rows of sharp teeth on the back of the saber. On the body of the saber, there were patterns that looked like the fangs of ferocious beasts. Chapter 224. A piercingly cold murderous aura surged and rose when the crowd below the stage saw the black blade in Chu Hen's hand. Every single one of their faces revealed expressions of astonishment. He actually knows how to use a saber? There's no need for me to use my best weapon to deal with you. Chu Hen looked coldly at Wei Qingfan, and the smile on his face was frivolous and disdainful. Wei Qingfan's face darkened and a chill surged in his eyes. Humph! I'd like to see how long you can be so arrogant for. As soon as he finished speaking, Wei Qingfan's figure moved, and he directly flashed toward Chu Hen. The golden machete in his hand bloomed with a dazzling light. He raised the machete and slashed down, and the sound of wind and thunder resounded in the air. At the same time, the limitless fang in Chu Hen's hand also erupted with a strong black light. His eyes turned cold, and he fearlessly raised his saber to meet Wei Qingfan's attack head-on. Bang! 2 rays of light, 1 black and 1 gold, streaked across the air, and then they firmly collided. The heavy collision of forces directly caused a large wave of saber light to rise in the area between the two. The limitless fang and the machete collided in a crisscross manner. Chu Hen and Wei Qingfan faced each other head-on, and majestic true origin energy erupted from their bodies. Circles of golden light lingered and danced around Wei Qingfan's body. A dense black light rose from Chu Hen's body like the flames of the netherworld. Although the collision in front of them was simple, the people in the arena could clearly sense the wind that was stirred on the stage, as well as the extremely chaotic and intense airflow. This guy. Many people below the stage frowned, and their faces were filled with disbelief. In particular, the group of people who had been to St. Bell City before was even more astonished. At that time, it was difficult for Chu Hen to withstand a single attack from Wei Qingfan, but now he could face him head-on and not be at a disadvantage. This kind of growth speed was really shocking. Heh. Wei Qingfan's eyes flickered with intense hatred as he said in a deep voice, "Brat, I shouldn't have spared your lowly life back then." Chu Hen sneered disdainfully. "You make it sound like you're a benevolent person. It's just that the people you sent out in the past were all trash." To be honest, ever since Chu Hen stepped into the imperial capital, Wei Qingfan had always wanted to take Chu Hen's life. First, it was the midnight ambush of over 20 assassins. Then, it was the rookie king of imperial style, Ren Chong, who had persecuted Chu Chen during the Star Elite competition. Then, it was his follower, Wei Han, who had secretly made his move. Even during the first elimination round of the Earth ranking tournament, he had bribed all 32 people in the entire competition zone to surround and kill Chu Chen. To be honest, every time Wei Qingfan sent someone out, their cultivation level wasn't bad. Moreover, they were all people who had absolute confidence in killing Chu Hen. If it was someone else, they would have died several times over. However, that was Chu Hen. Chu Hen, who was constantly in a state of worry, had shattered Wei Qingfan's schemes time and time again. Today, the two of them were fighting on the same stage. New worries and old hatred came one after another. Sparks flew in all directions, bursting forth with a murderous aura. They are indeed all useless trash. However, this time, I'll do it myself. Wei Qingfan laughed coldly. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and replied in a lazy tone, "I'm sorry, I forgot to say earlier. Actually, you, Wei Qingfan, are also trash. You're courting death." Boom. Along with the furious aura that was like a flood, a surging shockwave immediately spread out on the stage. Strong winds danced and sand and stones were shattered. Both of them retreated backwards. After retreating more than 10 meters, the furious Wei Qingfan's killing intent rose. He raised his hand and slashed out with his blade. Swish! A golden-colored blade shadow burst out and attacked Chu Hen with the power to cut the air and cut the wind. Humph! Chu Hen was not afraid in the slightest. His pair of pitch-black eyes quietly became deep and fierce. Limitless tooth brandished and danced. The battle blade wrapped in black radiance had peerless might. At the same time that the blade image was shattered, a layer of blade wave that was as vigorous as the ocean tide swept towards Wei Qingfan. The surging blade light swept through thousands of soldiers like a rolling mat, whistling through the air. "You dare to be arrogant in front of me with such little strength?" Before Wei Qingfan's voice faded, he instantly flashed away from his original spot. Rays of dazzling golden light lingered around his body. Wei Qingfan directly broke through the overlapping black blade wave in front of him and instantly arrived in front of Chu Hen. His fierce attack was like a ferocious wolf. Wei Qingfan's aura was terrifying, but Chu Hen did not show any weakness. The limitless tooth was bitingly cold. The golden scimitar and the black battle blade constantly collided on the stage. Waves of heavy waves overlapped and were sharp and ear-piercing. In close combat, speed was the key to victory. The battle between the two constantly sped up the pace of the battle. Sparks flew everywhere, true essence wantonly, and blade-light shadows covered the sky and earth. It was a dazzling sight. Looking at the two people locked in close combat on the arena, the countless spectators felt their hearts clench. They did not even have the time to catch their breath. The intense battle caused everyone's nerves to be stretched taut. Chu Hen's blade technique is not inferior to his spear technique at all. In the Tensei Prefecture's spectator seats, instructor Song Chunglai squinted his eyes. There was a hint of amazement on his face. "Instructor Shi Lan's teaching ability really puts me to shame." "That's strange." Instructor Shadowless, who was sitting next to him, exclaimed. "What's wrong?" Song Chunglai asked. "The way this kid attacks and the arc of his blade seems a little similar to Yuyue's." "Is that so?" Song Chunglai's heart skipped a beat. Then, he carefully observed the intense battle on the stage. He saw that every time Chu Hen attacked, his wrist would move up slightly, causing the battle blade to accelerate a second time in the process of being swung out. Judging from the previous few battles, Bai Yue did indeed do this frequently. However, at that moment Bai Yue was also surprised. There was a hint of surprise on her beautiful face. Others only noticed that some parts of Chu Hen's blade technique were similar to hers, but Bai Yue could clearly see that Chu Hen's and her similarities were not only in the way they attacked, but also in the rhythm, speed, and trajectory of the blade. What's going on? The more Bai Yue watched, the more shocked she became, and the more confused she became. If it was just pure imitation, then she really admired Chu Hen a little. After all, there had been people who wanted to imitate her blade technique in the past, but all of them did not do it justice. In actual combat, they could not even perform 1/10 of Bai Yue's standard. As for Chu Hen, in her opinion, he definitely deserved more than an 8 out of 10. Of course, this 8 out of 10 referred to Bai Yue's pure blade technique. It did not include any other elemental strength. If Chu Hen and Bai Yue were to fight, the winner would undoubtedly be Chu Hen, who had the highest overall elemental strength. Bang! Bang! The intense battle between Wei Qingfan and Chu Hen continued to tug at the heartstrings of the audience. This was the ultimate showdown between the popular champion and the powerful dark horse. Disorderly saber lights and shadows splashed wantonly. Wherever the two of them went, deep and narrow saber marks and gullies appeared on the ground. The two of them, who had been fighting for their lives, did not give way to the enemy and fought fiercely. Stinking brat, die! Wei Qingfan's eyes surged with a sinister cold light. The sharp curved blade flickered with a bright brilliance. It was so resplendent that it seemed as if it had been soaked in the radiance of the sun. Accompanied by the sound of rushing wind, it rapidly slashed towards Chu Hen. F***ck off! Chu Hen shouted angrily in a deep voice. The limitless Fong was like a rising black flame. The blade light surged and dragged out a series of afterimages in the air. Then, it collided with the curved blade. Bang! The violent and heavy vibration was like a thunderclap piercing one's ears. Accompanying the might of the berserk aftermath that swept in all directions, Chu Hen and Wei Qingfan flew backwards once again. The rocks on the ground were completely shattered into pieces, and the crisscrossing cracks on the ground seemed to be on the verge of collapsing the arena. Swish! At the instant Chu Hen steadied himself, he commanded in his heart, and a red and crystalline talisman mark appeared shockingly before him. It's the Blaze Talisman Mark OM. Whoosh. Chapter 225. It's the Blazing Fire Curse, boom! Along with a cry of surprise from the spectators below the arena, a curtain of fire that soared into the sky was instantly set off on the arena. The Yuan core in Chu Hen's body rapidly rotated, and a giant red flaming hand flew out of the curtain of fire along with an extremely furious aura of primordial essence. The powerful aura was exceptionally astonishing, and a scorching wave of air covered the sky and earth. The giant hand that seemed to have come from the god of fire pounced towards Wei Qingfan with a majestic pressure. Humph! A grain of light dares to compete with the sun and moon. Wei Qingfan's eyes narrowed, and then a similarly furious aura erupted from his body. The golden scimitar in his hand shattered into countless specks of golden light with a bang. Countless specks of golden light rapidly gathered in Wei Qingfan's palm. In just half a breath's time, a golden wheel appeared in his palm. Buzz! Wei Qingfan twisted his wrist and flipped his palm outwards. The golden wheel blossomed with a dazzling radiance that was as dazzling as the sun. Under numerous cautious gazes, the golden wheel rapidly expanded and turned into a Death Sun wheel that was more than 5 meters in diameter. The Death Sun wheel rapidly rotated in front of Wei Qingfan's palm, and the edges of the 360-degree golden wheel were covered with incomparably sharp sawteeth. How can you block my Death Sun wheel with your little strength? Wei Qingfan bellowed and threw the Death Sun wheel in his palm. A sharp aura tore through the air, and a dense aura of destruction spread in all directions. Boom! As soon as the two powerful forces collided, fireballs of all sizes immediately splashed in the sky. Subsequently, under countless gazes that were filled with astonishment, the death sun wheel split the huge flaming hand apart. The wave of flames that was like a tide was split apart from the middle. The unstoppable death sun wheel pierced through the curtain of fire with the power to cut through bamboo. It swept up a torrential stream of air as it attacked Chu Hen. At the same time, Wei Qingfan followed closely behind the death sun wheel and charged towards Chu Hen, ready to launch the next round of attacks at any time. TSK, this death wheel of sun is indeed worthy of being House Wei's ancestral secret art. Its destructive power is actually so great. A cry of surprise came from the audience below the stage. Isn't that obvious? The sun wheel of death could only be cultivated with the blazing sun battle body bloodline. During the cultivation process, one had to extract the power contained in the nine heavens' divine sun holy radiance in order to condense the death sun wheel. It's extremely difficult. This Wei Qingfan is truly a genius that is rarely seen in 100 years. Meeting him, Chu Hen can be considered as having bad luck. In the blink of an eye, the death yang wheel that was covered in sharp sawteeth had already split apart the heavy waves of fire and arrived in front of Chu Hen. Countless people couldn't help but worry about Chu Hen's fate. The death yang wheel's destructive power was extremely great. Even if Chu Hen blocked the attack, Wei Qingfan, who was following closely behind the death yang wheel, would surely unleash a critical strike in the next instant. Long Xuan, Yi Yao, Yu Chenyu, and the crowd from Tensei Prefecture all wore grave expressions. Heh. Wei Qingfan smiled proudly, a hint of viciousness in his eyes. Die. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me if you can't even take a single attack from my death yang wheel? Humph, you really don't know what you're talking about. An indifferent and mocking voice rang out from Chu Hen's mouth. Just as the death yang wheel of death split apart the last curtain of fire, an extremely chilling aura suddenly rose from the scorching heat wave. A pure white rune appeared in front of Chu Hen. Rumble! Suddenly, the ground trembled as a large ice curtain rapidly rose in front of Chu Hen. The ice curtain looked like an ice wall made of ice. It was more than 10 meters tall and more than 2 meters thick. From afar, it looked like a small iceberg. It's the frost rune, bang! Along with a cry of surprise from below the arena, an incomparably heavy and violent explosion whistled through the arena. Under countless astonished gazes, the peerless death yang wheel of death slammed into the thick ice wall. Many Academy geniuses couldn't help but clench their fists with shock on their faces. Even though the majority of the people present knew that Chu Hen did not only control one type of rune power, what truly made them gasp in surprise was that Chu Hen was able to rotate two types of power at such a fast speed. Chu Hen's mastery of rune power was probably no less than Huangwu Luomengcheng's. Boom! The aftermath of the scorching and cold air waves swept across the stage. Ice crystal fragments flew everywhere, sparkling and translucent under the refraction of the sun. At the same time that the death sun wheel was blocked by Chu Hen, the thick ice shield wall that was erected on the platform was also covered with fine cracks, and then it collapsed and exploded. The entire arena was filled with frenzied energy. The gorgeous scene filled everyone's eyes, and the world dimmed a little. Buzz. Whoosh. Before Wei Qingfan could launch a second round of attacks, an extremely strong and cold aura erupted from Chu Hen's body. The dense ice-profound cold energy almost froze the space to pieces. A cold glint flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. In the next second, rings of dense ice-profound energy rose around Wei Qingfan with the might of a whirlpool. The bone-piercing cold was like an icicle that pierced into the bone marrow. Wei Qingfan was slightly shocked. This domineering cold had actually affected the flow of the true essence in his body. In a hurry, Wei Qingfan did not dare to rashly attack. He subconsciously retreated and turned from offense to defense. Hey, where do you think you're going? Chu Hen sneered. In an instant, the incomparably thick white cold air surrounded Wei Qingfan's body and quickly condensed into ice. Wei Qingfan, who was in the middle of the encirclement, was immediately surrounded on all sides. What was even more shocking was that the cold air became extremely sharp as it condensed into ice. Tens of thousands of ice spears converged and compressed towards Wei Qingfan from all directions, front, back, left, right, and every angle. In the blink of an eye, a round ball covered in spikes appeared on the arena. Everyone's eyes widened. This sharp ice ball was like a sea urchin or a huge white hedgehog. Slender and sharp ice spikes covered the surface of the ice ball. It was believed that the same situation was happening inside. As for the people trapped inside, if they were not careful, they would probably be pierced into a sieve. Hiss! Looking at the scene in front of them, countless people could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. All of them looked at Chu Hen with complicated gazes. The other party's control and release of the power of the seal was simply terrifying. At this moment, even the 5 deans on the northern spectators' stand frowned slightly. They were all moved by this. Crack! After a brief moment of amazement, in the next second, a long and narrow crack spread from the ice ball covered with icicles. Everyone was shocked. Everyone could clearly sense the violent and raging energy fluctuations that were being released from within the ball of ice. As expected of Wei Qingfan, he definitely would not fall so easily. Immediately after, a dazzling light was released from the crack. The light became stronger and stronger, and soon after, a deafening explosion was heard. Ice shards flew in all directions, and ice cubes of all sizes directly exploded from the surface of the table. The power of the rage was terrifying, and a circle of cold air waves mixed with fine ice crystals rushed towards the many spectators below the arena. Hiss hiss! What followed was a violent energy fluctuation. The expressions of everyone below the stage changed. They saw that Wei Qingfan's entire body was surrounded by thick pillars of lightning. Dozens of lightning pillars were like silver pythons, and an extremely violent aura shook the entire arena. Humph! Don't think that you're the only one who has mastered the power of the seal. Wei Qingfan's face was gloomy, and his eyes surged with thick flames of anger and killing intent. Chu Hen held the black saber diagonally, and an awe-inspiring domineering aura arose spontaneously. The cold wind blew, and the corner of his clothes fluttered. He Wei Qingfan, I'm going to skin you today. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Hiss hiss! The lightning pillars that lingered around Wei Qingfan's body erupted with incomparably dazzling light. Dozens of lightning pillars crisscrossed and soared into the sky, emitting an endless aura of destruction. At that moment, Wei Qingfan gave people the feeling that he was a god of thunder, mighty and extraordinary. Looking at the enraged Wei Qingfan, Yi Yao, who was in the Tifeng province, could not help but clench her fists tightly. From the beginning, Yi Yao was worried about Chu Hen. It had been almost a year since she entered the Tifeng province, and she had a certain understanding of Wei Qingfan's ability. It could be said that other than the 3 super freaks who took the fixed places on the heaven leaderboard, there was no one in the entire Tifeng province who could compete with Wei Qingfan. Although right now, Chu Hen was not at a disadvantage in the slightest. However, Yi Yao was still worried. Brother Chu Hen. In comparison, Yi Yu, who was at the side, was much more indifferent. From what she saw, in today's match, Chu Hen would definitely lose miserably to Wei Qingfan. He might even lose his life. This was also what Yi Yu hoped to see. From the time they were in Flaming Rain City until now, Chu Hen made Yi Yu feel more and more uneasy. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was a thorn in her side. Yi Yu did not wish for such a threat to continue growing. To put it simply, Yi Yu desperately wanted to get proof from Wei Qingfan that she had made the right choice back then. Hiss hiss! Dozens of lightning bolts jumped and flickered angrily. Wei Qingfan shouted angrily, "Lightning curse!" In a split second, dozens of silver python-like lightning pillars all pounced towards Chu Hen. The terrifying destructive might caused people's hearts to palpitate. However, at this moment, a faint smile appeared on Chu Hen's face. You're not qualified to play with curse runes in front of me. Chapter 226. You don't have the qualifications to play with talisman markings before me. Facing the lightning pillars that were like dozens of silver pythons pouncing over, Chu Hen's tone was indifferent as he lightly spat out such a sentence. As soon as he finished speaking, the third talisman markings appeared before Chu Hen. In the next instant, lightning arcs that crisscrossed each other instantly covered Chu Hen's entire body. What's that? Lightning talisman mark. He really has grasped the energy of 3 types of talisman markings. As they gazed at the violent energy that Chu Hen released that was exactly the same as Wei Qingfan's, the spectators below the arena were extremely astounded. It's true. Earlier, the spectators had heard that when Chu Hen and Shen Yunxi fought outside the arena 2 nights ago, Chu Hen had once executed talisman markings of 3 different attributes. But many of the spectators that hadn't witnessed it with their own 2 eyes didn't really believe it, and they were doubtful. However, at this moment, thousands of pairs of eyes were watching the scene in the arena, and the last trace of doubt in everyone's hearts vanished along with it. Hiss. Subsequently, the lightning pillars that coiled around Chu Hen's body glowed brilliantly as well. Numerous bolts of lightning crisscrossed each other, and carried a terrifying aura of destruction as they pounced towards Wei Qingfan's attack. Clang! Along with the deafening sound of the thunderstorm, the ground of the entire arena started trembling along with it. Over 100 lightning pillars that shot into the sky wantonly converged and collided with each other, and a shocking and violent energy directly enveloped more than half of the arena. Rumble! The rumbling of thunder shook the hearts of the spectators. In the blink of an eye, a silver lightning net that was almost 100 meters wide appeared in the sky above the arena. The lightning net that suffused the sky above the area between Chu Hen and Wei Qingfan seemed like a myriad of galloping horses and an army, and it also seemed like 100 cowhide drums were being beaten at the same time. The dense lightning markings were dazzling and gorgeous. Even the heavens and the earth dimmed slightly. Chu Hen and Wei Qingfan's bodies continuously released incomparably powerful lightning energy, and they clashed head-on. Sparks flew everywhere on the stage, and extremely sharp light pierced everyone's eyes. Countless people in the audience were secretly shocked, and their faces turned pale. Everyone didn't doubt in the slightest that if anyone were to enter the lightning net that interweaved freely, then that person would probably be instantly blasted into bits by the violent force of the lightning net. So what if you've mastered a lot of runes? Wei Qingfan revealed a disdainful and sinister smile on his face. Then, an even more furious, surging aura rose from his body. The power of thunder and lightning that erupted from his body immediately gained the upper hand, crushing Chu Hen's power and pushing forward. In the face of absolute power, how can you defeat me? However, in the face of Wei Qingfan's rising aura, a disdainful sneer appeared on Chu Hen's face. Who told you that the seals and runes you control are useless? Bang! Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, a strand of surging might suddenly swept out from the arena, and 4 screens of water that shot into the sky suddenly appeared in Wei Qingfan's surroundings. What? Everyone present here was greatly shocked in their hearts, and their countenances went pale. They saw that the lightning seal before Chu Hen had already vanished, and it was replaced by a crystalline and translucent blue-colored talisman marking that was like glass, and it was extremely gorgeous like a gem. What the fuck? The water seal. The 4th type of seal. A slightly trembling exclaim of shock sounded out from the spectating area below the arena. This exclaim of shock stopped by the ears of everyone present here, and it was like a thunderclap that shook the eardrums of everyone present here to the point it hurt. Xiao Yan, Long Xuanshuang, Bai Yue, Yu Chenyu, Shangguan Yan, and the others. All the genius students clenched their fists lightly while revealing astounded expressions. In the consonant's Martial House region, Shen Yunxi's brows were tightly knitted together. His originally bloodless face turned even paler. He clenched his fists tightly, and even his knuckles cracked. It turned out that in the battle the night before yesterday, Chu Hen actually hadn't used his full strength, and had even held back. At this moment, Shen Yunxi had directly suffered an indescribable sense of defeat. Even if compared to the 5 types of seals that Luo Mingshang had revealed earlier, the degree of shock that everyone present here felt towards Chu Hen wasn't the slightest bit inferior to the former. Buzz. Whoosh. The screen of water that suddenly rose into the sky directly trapped Wei Qingfan within it. At the same time that the surging screen of water drowned Wei Qingfan, it charged into the sky above the arena, and enveloped the lightning net that covered the sky and the earth. However, not only was the lightning energy that was enveloped by the screen of water not suppressed, it instead erupted with an even more dazzling silver brilliance. In the next instant, something that surprised everyone occurred. The lightning energy that was originally crushing towards Chu Hen suddenly turned around. Soon after, it flowed back and forth along the overlapping water curtain, and returned to Wei Qingfan, who was within the water curtain with the momentum of a reverse nest. What? Seeing this scene, everyone present widened their eyes. Even the deans of the various high-ranked martial houses were visibly moved. Similarly, using the characteristic of the power of water can fuse with the power of lightning, Chu Hen's move was much more practical and effective than the previous move that Luo Mingshang used to deal with Shangguan Yen. Wonderful! Truly wonderful! Many people in the arena secretly applauded. Chi-chi. Thunder and lightning intertwined, and countless lightning snake-like rays of lightning poured down along the water screen, gorgeous and bright like a stream of light that could trace back thousands of years. An incomparably violent destructive power that was comparable to the suppression of a mountain came crashing down. Wei Qingfan, who was surrounded by the water screen, did not even have the time to retreat under the pressure of the power of water. Clang! A deafening sound exploded in the arena, and with Wei Qingfan as the center, the terrifying power fluctuated as if it had been attacked by a meteorite. Countless dazzling silver lightning bolts mixed with water ripples and raindrops exploded from within, and the mighty scene was like a fireworks shower in the dark night. Rings of powerful aftershocks swept out in all directions. The ground trembled endlessly, and countless densely packed cracks spread out. Inch by inch, the flying rubble was directly shattered into powder. It spread towards the audience below the arena. The audience raised their sleeves to cover their faces, and some of the weaker ones even revolved the true essence in their bodies to resist. A dense aura surged through the entire arena. When everyone saw the scene on the arena, their pupils shrank and shock filled their faces. In the area where Wei Qingfan was, a huge pit with a diameter of nearly 100 meters suddenly appeared. In that huge pit, Wei Qingfan's face was gloomy and livid, and his eyes were filled with ferocity as he glared at Chu Hen. Wei Qingfan's clothes were slightly disheveled, and his hair was a little messy. Even so, there were no obvious injuries on his body, but what was different from before was that Wei Qingfan's body was now surrounded by a circle of soft golden light, and the soft light faintly showed the shape of a protective armor. Whoosh. That is? Spiritual armor? No wonder Wei Qingfan is fine. He is wearing a spiritual armor. There was a clamor of discussion in the arena. Spiritual armor was a defensive armor at the spiritual level, and its main characteristic was to resist all external attacks. The violent power just now could not hurt Wei Qingfan, and it was this spiritual armor that had resisted a large part of the power. Sigh, what a pity! Li Hui from Tensei Prefecture shook his head and sighed. Damn, I didn't expect him to wear a tortoise shell. Mu Feng cursed in disdain. The others also felt that it was a pity. They believed that if it was not for the protection of the spiritual armor, Chu Hen's thunderbolt strike just now would not have been a problem to hurt Wei Qingfan. An incomparably cold gust of wind blew across the stage. The expressions of everyone in the arena became solemn. While they were amazed by Wei Qingfan, no one dared to look down on Chu Hen anymore. Hee, you scoundrel, congratulations on successfully provoking my anger. Wei Qingfan's fists were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. An extremely restless and violent aura continuously rose and released from his body. Next, I want you to die without an intact corpse, you bastard. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows slightly, and the limitless tooth in his palm also set off a surging black light. His deep eyes surged with a mocking coldness. I shall wait and see. There was frivolity and disdain in his indifferent tone. In the next instant, Wei Qingfan's anger rose to the sky. Rays of golden light intertwined with each other and rose violently. His gloomy face revealed a thick, sinister smile. He, if you really think that I, Wei Qingfan, only have this little ability, then you are gravely mistaken. This is the move I want to use in the Heaven List battle. Now, congratulations on having the opportunity to enjoy it in advance. Ha 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 ha. Incomparably arrogant laughter filled the arena, and a terrifying aura swept in all directions. Feeling the aura on Wei Qingfan's body that had skyrocketed several times, everyone in the audience revealed a deep sense of disbelief. Fourth stage core transformation stage? He actually broke through to the fourth stage long ago? Good fella, as expected of Wei Qingfan. He really hid his strength well. In an instant, Long Xuan, Yu Chenyu, Yi Yao, and the people from Tensei Prefecture turned pale. Their hearts were filled with unprecedented seriousness. No one would have thought that Wei Qingfan's schemes ran so deep. Since the beginning, he had been suppressing his cultivation base to the peak of third stage core transformation stage. When he suddenly unleashed the aura of a fourth stage core transformation stage, it really caught everyone off guard. It's a little tricky. On the Imperial Martial School side, Luo Mengchong frowned slightly as a hint of caution appeared in her delicate eyes. Brother Chu Hen. On the Tifeng Province's side, Yi Yao clenched her small fists so tightly that her fingernails pierced her palms. On the other hand, Yi Yu's face was filled with a relaxed expression. Seeing this, she could be said to be at ease from the bottom of her heart. She thought to herself, Chu Hen, you've lost for sure. A furious aura instantly enveloped the entire arena. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed slightly, and there was a hint of seriousness between his brows. However, there was no trace of panic on his determined face. I have to say, I really admire your acting skills. You still dare to pretend to be calm at a time like this. Wei Qingfan's body was surrounded by a golden light. Then, he leaped up and directly flew tens of meters into the air. You can die now, ha 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 ha. Everyone's pupils faintly shrank. They saw Wei Qingfan's figure overlapping with the angle of the sun in the sky. He looked down at Chu Hen from above, and just happened to block the ray of sunlight that shone on Chu Hen's body. An unprecedented dangerous aura completely enveloped the entire arena below. Chapter 227. You can die now, ha 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 ha. Under the astonished gazes of the audience, Wei Qingfan, who had erupted with the aura of a fourth-order core transformation stage, leaped dozens of meters into the air. The pupils of everyone present faintly shrank. They saw Wei Qingfan looking down at Chu Hen from high above. The angle of his figure and the sun overlapped, perfectly blocking the ray of light that the sun was shining on Chu Hen. An unprecedented dangerous aura pressed down like a mountain. Immediately after, Wei Qingfan's body blossomed with a dazzling brilliance that was as bright as the sun. It's over. Wei Qingfan looked down at Chu Hen with a cold gaze. It was as if he was looking at a dying man. You should be proud to die under this move of mine. Celestial Sun Illusory Annihilation Fist. A thunderous sound exploded in the air above the competition area, causing everyone's heart to tremble. Shortly after, Wei Qingfan threw a punch with all his strength. In the next instant, the bright light that blossomed from his body became extremely powerful. The incomparably frightening might shocked everyone present. Wei Qingfan was as if he had transformed into another sun under the nine heavens. Divine Sunday endless golden rays of light poured out from his body, and like a flood, they attacked Chu Hen below. Not good, the range is too wide. Senior brother Chu-hen has nowhere to hide. Li Hui from the Tensei Prefecture couldn't help but exclaim. Damn it, why does this bastard have so many powerful killing moves? Mu Feng cursed. The faces of the teachers and students from the Tensei Prefecture turned pale. Their eyebrows were tightly knitted, and they were overwhelmed with shock. Under the shocked gazes of the audience, the countless piercing golden rays of light enveloped the entire arena. The dense light instantly engulfed Chu-hen. Boom! Immediately after, the ground under everyone's feet started to tremble violently. The streaks of extremely lethal golden light caused the arena, which was already in a state of desolation, to become even more riddled with holes. Rocks of all sizes were instantly smashed into dust, and densely packed holes covered the surface of the platform. Wherever this death ray went, it could be said that it destroyed everything. It caused everything to vanish here. Bang! Along with the trembling hearts of everyone, the huge battle stage collapsed and sunk into the ground. Before the rocks could even bounce up, they were crushed into powder by the dense light rays. Hiss! Such a terrifying scene caused everyone present to gasp involuntarily. This power was simply terrifying. Wei Qingfan, who was hovering high up in the sky, was so powerful that it was terrifying. Oh my God! Can Chu-hen survive? It's impossible. There's absolutely no chance of survival. Even if he didn't die a horrible death, he would have been pierced into a sieve by those rays of light. Wei Qingfan is truly a genius. That's right. Wei Qingfan has hidden his strength too deeply. Amidst the exclamations of the crowd, the golden light rays that erupted from Wei Qingfan's body continuously caused devastating impacts to the arena below. At this moment, everyone from Tensei Prefecture clenched their fists tightly, their eyes red with anger. Long Xuan and Yu Qinyu's faces were as pale as paper, their eyes faintly trembling with unease. On the Imperial Martial Academy's side, Luo Mengchang frowned slightly, her beautiful eyes unwittingly suffused with a faint solemnity. He shouldn't die so easily. Although the majority of the people present believed that Chu-hen would undoubtedly die, Luo Mengchang had an indescribable feeling that an even more shocking scene was about to unfold. On the special viewing platform in the north, apart from Imperial Martial Academy's Dean Yu Yen, the other 4 deans all revealed expressions of unprecedented shock. The Heavenly Sun Illusory Annihilation Fist and the Death Wheel of Sun are known as the Wei clan's 2 great techniques, and only the Wei clan's patriarch is qualified to cultivate the former. It seems that Wei Qingfan has already been regarded as the next Wei clan's patriarch, Imperial Martial Academy's Dean Guan-du said in a deep voice. With such a child, why would the Wei clan worry about not being able to prosper? Spirit Rhinoceros Dean Su-shur also praised in admiration. Needless to say, in the hearts of the 5 great deans, they already had an answer to the outcome of this match. Haha, Dean Yu, you've already won the championship. Why do you still have such a long face? Imperial Martial Academy's Dean Guan-du smiled faintly. Yu Yen smiled faintly. It's not the final moment yet. Anything can happen. In response to Yu Yan's reply, the others only smiled faintly and shook their heads. Even though Yu Yan had a serious look on his face, everyone knew that wasn't what Yu Yan was thinking. Soon, the power of the Heavenly Sun Illusory Annihilation Fist began to weaken. The endless golden light rays began to merge into Wei Qingfan's body at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the appearance of the arena gradually appeared before everyone's eyes. Looking at the destroyed arena that had been reduced to ruins, the hearts of everyone present trembled without end. In the eyes of countless people, there was absolutely no hope for Chu-hen to survive the impact of such a terrifying power. On the Tifeng province's side, Yi Yao's little face was already deathly pale from worry. Her large eyes were misty, and tears were about to fall out. Yi Yu, who was beside her, was the exact opposite. A relaxed expression filled her face. At this moment, she had already obtained proof that Chu Hen was fated to meet a tragic end in front of Wei Qingfan. The gloom that had shrouded Yi Yu's heart for the past few days instantly disappeared. Her choice back then wasn't wrong, however. At this moment, a surging wave of energy suddenly spread out from the arena. What? Everyone's heartstrings trembled. Then, something that no one could have imagined happened. A powerful shockwave spread out in all directions, and the rocks on the ground were all sent flying. The huge aura swept away thousands of soldiers like a blanket. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a young man with a straight back like a spear once again appeared in front of the crowd. Boom! Looking at the familiar figure of the young man, there was a wave of cheers from the Tensei prefecture. Meanwhile, the Tifeng province's side suddenly became silent. Oh my God! He's actually fine? Who the hell is this guy? In an instant, the atmosphere of the entire competition area instantly changed. The eyes of Long Xuanxuang, Yu Qinyu, Luo Mingshang, and the others lit up. On the other hand, the 5 deans on the north stand were all stunned. They saw that Chu Hen's body was surrounded by circles of golden-red illusory flames. The illusory flames were like dragons, dancing snakes, and also like a dazzling halo that wrapped around his body, forming a circular light shield. Although Chu Hen, who was in the illusory flames, had many wounds on his body, the aura he exuded was still extremely strong. Everyone felt that it was extremely unbelievable. No one would have thought that Chu Hen's defense was so terrifying that it was unbelievable. At this moment, when the last ray of golden light converged into Wei Qingfan's body, the latter began to fall from the air. But seeing Chu Hen, who did not seem to have any injuries, Wei Qingfan was furious. Another wave of powerful aura surged out. Very clearly, he was preparing to use another powerful sure-kill technique. However, at the same time, Chu Hen suddenly raised his head, and a cold smile appeared on his handsome face that was stained with a trace of blood. Buzz buzz! Along with a strange wave of power, a green glaze rune immediately appeared in front of Chu Hen. As soon as this rune appeared, the airflow in the entire competition area was stirred. Oh, Gale rune! Damn, the 5th rune power, the same as Luo Mingshang. Boom! Looking at the power of the 5th rune that appeared in front of Chu Hen, everyone in the audience widened their eyes, as if they had been struck by lightning. Without waiting for everyone to recover from their shock, Chu Hen leapt up. With a whoosh, he leapt up and directly left the ground. His momentum was like a flash of light as he flashed towards Wei Qingfan, who was high up in the sky. An extremely chaotic pressure triggered the airflow in all directions. With the speed of the Gale rune, Chu Hen dragged a series of shadows in the air, and instantly appeared in front of Wei Qingfan. When he was less than 2 meters away from the latter, the limitless fang in his palm was swung out like a flickering light. The rapid breaking of the wind stung the eardrums of countless people. Chu Hen shouted, and the cold, murderous aura shocked the audience.